Part 64. Fantasy, Me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 632. Bang. The void exploded. Two majestic figures appeared on the sky at the same time, stepping on the endless void. Chaos surged around them, and mist filled the world. Two sharp eyes penetrated the universe and swept through every inch of space. Mountain Master, have you discovered anything? Lu Qingyu said in a deep voice. His aura was like Wan Yang, filling the sky and the earth, making the sun, moon, and stars tremble with it, and the mountains, rivers, and mountains were about to collapse. It was very terrifying. The armor was shining, and the man was like a blazing sun, hanging in the sky. Billions of rays of light bloomed, illuminating the starry sky. At this moment, his momentum had been raised to the extreme, and he was ready to take action at any time, but the result was that he was disappointed. He didn't find a single figure from the beginning to the end. If the Lord of Tianmang Mountain hadn't been alert, he wouldn't have even known that his every move had been monitored. Thinking of this, it sent chills down his spine. Fortunately, he didn't. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain turned his back. Otherwise, he might not be able to move forward alone. After all, the news of the quasi-immortal emperor has been spread. The immortal kings who came are all extremely powerful, and there are many slaves among them. Any of the old monsters who survived the underworld war would be better than him. People from the God realm. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain looked gloomy, sensed the remaining aura, and said solemnly. People from the God realm. Lu Qingyu's expression changed, and he said in surprise, a member of the Lu clan. At this time, it seems that only people from the Lu clan may have arrived, but I don't know who is coming. The seventh ancestor? Or Lu Qinghong? Or the terrifying second ancestor? As for Lu Qinzi and Lu Xiancheng, he had not considered that the strength of these two people was equal to his, and it was absolutely impossible for them to sneak into Tianmang Mountain quietly. I'm afraid he's not from the Lu clan. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain slowly shook his head and continued, if I remember correctly, this aura should be from the Hanging City in the God realm. What? Hearing the word Hanging City, Lu Qingyu frowned and said in a cold voice, how could Hanging City move so fast? Could it be that the old city lord appeared? This is impossible, right? The Hanging City is a mysterious force. It existed before the Underworld War, but when the God Realm was besieged by the Underworld, the old city lord of the Hanging City never showed up, let alone join the battle. Many people were suspicious. The Hanging City was waiting for the defeat of the God Realm so that it could surrender to the Underworld. But what people did not expect was that at the last moment, the old city lord of the Hanging City suddenly came out and killed 5 immortal kings of the underworld in a row. Only this battle. The name Xiankong City is famous throughout the world. After all, no one can kill 5 immortal kings in a row. Many people speculate that the Lord of the Hanging City is most likely to be the number 1 among the quasi-immortal emperors. People. Of course. Many people have had this title. After using this title for more than 10 million years, the Lord of the Hanging City was snatched away by Lu Qinghong, who suddenly appeared because he had been hiding in the world. Gone. Countless years have passed. The Lord of the Hanging City ignored what was happening outside the window and only wanted to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor. Many people thought that he had passed away during the process of breaking through, but who could have imagined that he not only did he not sit down, but he suddenly broke out of the barrier? What's even more incredible is that he actually came to Tianyang realm in advance and peeped near the two of them for a long time. No one can tell how much he heard. Maybe only if you know a little, you may have heard them all. When I think of this, even the Lord of Tianmang Mountain has restrained his arrogance. There are too many powerful people hidden in the world. He is just a mere. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain is still unable to scorn the heroes. Take the old Lord of the Hanging City just now. In a one-on-one fight with his tone, the chance of winning can be said to be almost slim. The only one who can do this is the old city lord of Hanging City. The lord of Tianmang Mountain spoke solemnly. He turned around, glanced at Lu Qingyu, and said in a deep voice, "It seems that our plan is developing faster than we expected." It was indeed beyond my expectation. Lu Qingyu nodded. What he originally wanted was to let his descendants help him spread the news. Who would have thought that after the seventh ancestor knew about it, he directly used the power of the entire Lu clan. In this way, the speed of the news spread, it can be called terrifying. In a short period of time, whether it is the divine world, the fairy world, or other powerful worlds such as the demon world, everyone knows about the chance birth of the quasi-immortal emperor. When the news spread, it attracted. It is not difficult to understand an old monster like the Lord of the Hanging City. Speaking of which, why did the people from Hanging City arrive so quickly? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain looked at Lu Qingyu with sharp eyes, trying to see through him. In his opinion, the Tianyan realm is no longer the Tianyan realm before. Even though there are countless strong people in the God realm, they want to rely on. It will take a lot of time to find the ancient books in Tianyan realm. But the old city lord of Hanging City arrived quickly. This kind of thing is obviously unusual. Unless Lu Qingyu helped secretly. What's the meaning? Lu Qingyu sensed the gaze of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain, frowned, and said, displeased, "You suspect that I am cooperating with the Lord of Hanging City? You worry too much. In my opinion, it was the Lord of Hanging City who followed Lu Zhenjun and came here. This possibility cannot be ruled out." The Lord of Tianmang Mountain heard this and nodded casually. As for how much he believed, only he knew. Lu Zhenjian's strength is only at the peak of the immortality realm. Putting it in other places, it may be considered very strong. But in front of the city lord of Hanging City, it is still not enough to watch. It is not easy to follow silently. Now that the old city lord of Hanging City has arrived, others are probably on the way. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said softly. Yes. Lu Qingyu sighed. He touched the storage ring on his hand without leaving a trace, and said softly, "The time left for us is running out. The two of us have caused such a big disturbance, I hope we won't just be bystanders." Finally, Lu Qingyu added another sentence. If it was before, he was indeed full of confidence, but today it seems that the matter is more serious than they imagined. It is very difficult for just one Hanging City lord. Plus other people. It's hard to say who the final winner will be. Let's go. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain took a deep look at Lu Qingyu and said in a faint voice, "It's time for us to go to Tianji Tower to take a look. I hope we can get some useful information this time." When the two of them rushed to Tianyuan world, Tianyan realm, the original ancestral land of the Lu family, a gentle and elegant middle-aged man strode down from the void outside the territory. He landed on the ground, first glanced around, then with a hint of surprise in his eyes, he let out a light sigh and murmured, "Is this the Tianyan realm?" He sighed the same as Lu Zhenjun, but the difference is that Lu Zhenjun already knew some secrets beforehand, but he set foot on the land of Tianyan realm for the first time after the Underworld War. Sure enough, as the rumors said, Tianyan realm has been completely restored by someone with great supernatural powers. No, today's Tianyan realm seems to be. The middle-aged man closed his eyes, took a closer look, and said softly, "It seems to be much wider than before. It's interesting. It seems that today's Tianyan realm has not only returned to its original state, but has also improved to a higher level. Sure enough, there is an expert behind the opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor. Today's discovery alone makes the trip worthwhile. This person is none other than someone else. It was the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road who wandered in the chaos for a long time according to ancient records. After arriving at Tianyan realm, he was the first to find him. For a moment, I noticed the changes in the Tianyan realm. Not to mention the concentration of spiritual energy, but in terms of the vastness of the world, it is already completely superior to the God realm. Perhaps tens of millions of years later, this world will still be superior to the God realm. Up. With this discovery, the Taoist master of the Xianfeng Ancient Road suddenly had the idea of moving the Xianfeng Ancient Road here. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng Ancient Road glanced around, a trace of doubt flashed across his brows. He took a few steps forward and touched the huge pieces of gravel with his palms. He moved the huge pieces of gravel to the side. The bottom was exposed, which had been buried deep underground. Formation patterns. Each formation pattern, even if it has expired, still contains shocking murderous intent, as if this place had experienced a battle not long ago. If I read correctly, this place should have been a family before. In the depths of the eyes of the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road, a flash of light flashed. He kept looking around, and after walking around within 1,000,000 miles in radius, he chuckled and said, "There are 3 killing formations. It seems that someone used this family as bait, attracting several immortal kings to come here, and they experienced a big battle here. Although I didn't witness the original battle with my own eyes, a lot of information can still be deduced from some clues. For example, 3 immortal king-level killing formations can use this technique. The person who was ambushed can also. They are probably not idle people. The most likely ones are the 3 kings of the Lu family. Because some time ago, it seemed that they were the only 3 people who could come here. Interesting. Really interesting. Let me see what happened on that day." The Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road pointed one finger at the sky and the other at the ground. The power of time around him surged out, and the time in the entire void was reversed. It was as if time was flowing backwards. The originally shattered building was moving at a speed visible to the naked eye. Recovering. The broken formation also began to gradually glow. In the depths of chaos next to it, there were several terrifying and majestic figures, as if walking out of the river of time. They were covered with mist, looming, and the strength of each one could be detected. All above the immortal king. At this moment, they are covered in blood, and their mouths are open and closed, as if they are telling something. Most of the voices have been blocked by the years and cannot be heard clearly, but a small part of the words are clearly distinguishable. These people have mentioned a place more than once. That is, Tianji Tower. Buzz. The time was shaken. The Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road seemed to be able to capture the stars and the moon. His whole body was bathed in divine radiance, as if the ancient gods had descended and stood between heaven and earth, replaying the past with great supernatural powers. Many scenes were missing. But even so, he probably understood the cause and effect. Lu Qingyu indeed joined the underworld. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road reached the limit and dispersed the surrounding scenes. The place once again returned to the appearance of broken walls and ruins. He stood in the wilderness and whispered. But who is the person who helped Lu Qingyu? And who was the person who helped the 3 kings of the Lu family at the critical moment? It seems that there is no such figure in the God realm. Could it be that he came from the fairy world? After reading everything just now, although most of the doubts in the mind of the Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road were solved, more doubts came to his mind. He originally only thought that this was the relationship between Lu Qingyu and the 3 kings of the Lu family. A decisive battle between them. But what I didn't expect was that during the battle, many unknown immortal kings were involved, each of them very strange. The Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind path could not remember his life anyway. Seems like never seen. And the Tianji Tower they mentioned. Think of this. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient path suddenly recalled what the master of the Suanji sect told him when he left. If you see a loft named Tianji, don't mess with it. Could it be that the Tianji Tower mentioned by Lu Qingyu and others is the attic named after Tianji that the Suanji sect's owner told him? To be able to make the master of Suanji sect so solemn and even give up the idea of helping him become a quasi-immortal emperor shows that Tianji Tower is extraordinary. At least. It may also be more terrifying than the Suanji Gate. It may even be above the Suanji Gate. When he thought of this, a gleam of surprise flashed in the eyes of the Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road, and he murmured, if there really is such a terrifying person in the world, then I would like to see it. I hope this Tianji Tower will not disappoint me. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 633. Tianyuan World. The deserted city. It's getting more prosperous here. The white jade streets are crowded with pedestrians, and there is an endless stream of powerful cultivators. Here, saints can be seen everywhere, great emperors emerge in endlessly, and even powerful immortals are hidden among them. If you observe carefully, you might even pass by an immortal king. Some time ago, there was a rumor. There was a young man who, after entering the Tianji Tower, met an immortal king as soon as he came out. Through some shitty luck, he was attracted by the immortal king at a glance. He was also accepted as an apprentice. Among all this, it is unknown to outsiders whether there is a senior Tianji building owner who is behind this. But one thing is for sure. Looking at many worlds, perhaps there is no place where there are more powerful people than here in the great desert city. If you are lucky, you might be attracted by that strong man and become his disciple. Therefore, some people who are on the list of geniuses and whose power behind them are not strong, have been hanging around this place for a long time, hoping that they can have such good luck. It can soar into the sky. After all, being on the list of geniuses, no matter which world's list, represents part of the qualifications and strength. There are no two brushes. Can you stand on the list of geniuses? Have you heard that the longevity list suddenly changed a few days ago? In the great wilderness city, someone whispered. The immortality list. This is a list that Li Yun released before. When the undercurrents in the world are turbulent, he has not been idle about the list. The immortality list has been released long ago. Released. But because there are not many people in the immortality realm in this world, it did not cause much response. Many people just take a look and leave it at that. People in the immortality realm who have obtained immortality will almost never die as long as they do not seek death. Death, any one of them is a figure who can become a king and an ancestor. Ordinary practitioners have no way of contacting him. Has something changed? In Dawang City, in a restaurant, many people look towards the sky. What most people pay attention to are the list of stunning beauty or the list of geniuses in various worlds, such as the Emperor list and the Immortality list. Very few people look at such lists. Remains unchanged for thousands of years. It's of little use even if you look at it. On the contrary, the list of geniuses has been changing for a long time. It's hard to say that one genius suddenly fell. From the time the list of geniuses came to the present, the Tianyuan world alone almost half of the genius list has changed, and the other half has either fallen or been squeezed out. There are only a few evergreens on the genius list who can still occupy the top few places. Today, there has been no change. The sudden change in the longevity list immediately aroused the curiosity of countless people. Many people raised their heads to look at the longevity list. Huh! Someone exclaimed in disbelief, why is the second-ranked person on the longevity list in Tianyuan realm turned into a person named Lu Zhenjun? Before, the worlds such as Tianyuan realm, Zixuan realm, Blood Demon realm, etc., together, there were only one or two immortal realm characters, and they were not considered strong. Taishu had already become the immortal king. These days in this world, there is a gap in the immortality realm. Therefore, when Li Yun ranked the immortality realm, he only counted the immortality realm characters in the Tianyuan realm. This list was specially designed by Li Yun. As long as one enters the Tianyun realm, will be automatically ranked on the list of Tianyun realm. And Lu Zhenjun stepped into Tianyun realm. Naturally, his name appeared on the list. Of course. This is also because there are too few people in the immortality realm, so he considered it this way. We must first find a few strong people to prop up the facade, and wait until the characters in the immortal realm of the local world have grown up in the future. The immortal list will not rank the strong people from other worlds. This Lu Zhenjun shouldn't be from Tianyun realm, right? Someone said softly. Probably not. An old man stroked his beard, looked at the list in the sky, and said softly, the immortal lord of the earthly immortal realm once visited the Tianyun realm once, and then his name appeared on the 10th place on the immortal realm. Now, Lu Zhenjun appears in the 2nd position on the longevity list, and the true lord of immortality has also disappeared. You must know that the immortal lord is a figure in the earthly immortal realm. If Lu Zhenjun was a creature from the Tianyun realm, he would have been on the list long ago. The true monarch of immortality is the only card in the earthly immortal realm. But no matter what, the magical powers he cultivates are too special. He directly transforms into the 9th form of the soul. The combat power of each clone is very good. If added together, it is equal to the number 1 on the immortality list. There is no problem with any action. But it is a pity that the immortality list only counts one's own combat power. Therefore, the immortal lord can only fail the list sadly. This also makes the creatures in the earthly immortal realm very helpless. The immortal lord is not on the list, and their earthly immortal lord is not on the list. The creatures in the fairy world will no longer have the capital to brag. During this period of time, there have been obviously a lot more strangers in the desert city. Is it possible that other powerful worlds are about to merge? Some people thought of what happened before and speculated in their hearts. Their powerful world is different from their weak world. Before the world merges, people can be sent to explore the way in advance. If this world is very strong, after the world merges, there may be peace. But if the world is weak, then I'm sorry. If you refer to the practices of Zixuan realm and Earth Immortal realm, the situation will be clear. This may not be the case. A creature from the earthly immortal realm had an ugly expression on his face and said in a deep voice, our earthly immortal realm still has a large area bordering on chaos. I don't know what kind of world the senior TNG building master will merge into. I don't know where the new world will come from if it comes. If it is integrated into the Tianyun realm, the creatures in other worlds can breathe a sigh of relief. If it is integrated into the earthly immortal realm or the blood demon realm, the meaning will be the same. Don't worry too much. Several fused worlds are now united. If there is an invasion from another world and everyone resists it together, it is not impossible to win. There is an old saint in the Tianyun world who is very old-fashioned. Hearing these words, many people gave him a blank look. In the Tianyun world, there is the master of TNG building sitting in charge, and there is also the Teishu immortal king beside him. How can the ordinary world dare to provoke them? This for a period of time, the creatures in the Tianyun world have a kind of big brother aura when looking at other worlds. With a strong backer behind them, they will naturally have a lot of confidence when facing the creatures from other worlds. Maybe, Lu Zhenjun just entered the Tianyun realm accidentally, and everyone is too worried. A Holy Lord level figure said softly, it's just a change in the longevity list. If in the future, the senior TNG building master releases the list of the existence of the immortal king, that's an earth-shattering event. This is impossible, right? As soon as the Holy Lord finished speaking, someone said, before the world merged, we didn't even know who the immortal king was. It was thanks to the creatures in the Tianyun realm that we knew about the immortality realm. Above that, there is another realm. Nowadays, among the many worlds put together, the immortal king may not be able to count them all at once. How could the senior master of TNG Tower release the immortal king level list at this time? These words came out. Many people agreed with it. In the eyes of countless people, any list must have at least 10 people. If there are not even 10 people, it is meaningless to make such a list. As long as you are an immortal king, you can be on the list. How can this reflect the authority of the immortal king level list? If a creature from another world comes from across the world and sees this list, it is so watery, wouldn't it make you laugh out loud? When countless people are talking about it? Inside the TNG building, Li Yun stood in front of the TNG tower, with his hands behind his back, and his eyes inadvertently glanced at a figure passing by in a hurry. This person was covered in mist, and his body was surrounded by laws. Although he was walking among the crowd, his aura was restrained. No one noticed that there was a powerful person next to him, and he quickly walked over. Immortal King. Li Yun frowned when he saw this figure, and noticed something was wrong, and murmured, "It's not an immortal king, it seems to be a quasi-immortal emperor, but it doesn't look like it." Eccentric. Li Yun spat out 2 words in confusion. The other party did not step into the TNG tower, so he naturally did not find out the other party's information. As for spending TNG points to search, it is a bit unnecessary. He is already a quasi-immortal emperor. When preparing to break through the immortal emperor, any secret points at this time are very important. They will not be wasted in a place like this. And the weird person who passed by the secret building just now. If Li Yun guessed correctly, the other party has already appeared in after arriving in Dawang City. It is estimated that it won't be long before he steps into the TNG tower. At that time, everything about the other party will naturally be invisible. Therefore, Li Yun can afford to wait. Anyway, since the immortal king is here, this list should be released. Li Yun stretched out one hand, and a light curtain floated in the palm of his hand. This is a list of immortal kings, including all the immortal kings in the world, with a total of 100 rankings. He has already prepared it, it's just that they haven't been released. After all, in these worlds, there are immortal king level figures, 2 or 3 big cats and kittens, who can be released to see. Now, the situation is different. Immortal kings from all walks of life have begun to cross over. It is not too late to release this list. Moreover, this list can be regarded as a free message to all the immortal kings in the world. After all, with this list, they know the enemy well. It can be said that the higher the ranking, the higher the chance of getting the opportunity to be a quasi-immortal emperor. System. Li Yun spoke in his heart and continued, "Let the immortal king list be released and put it in the most conspicuous place in Dawang City." As soon as he finished speaking, the entire desert city was shaken. Countless people were shocked and looked up at the sky in disbelief. What happened? Someone lost their voice. Dawang City is the safest place in the Tianyuan world. There has never been a violent vibration for many years, and now it suddenly shook. Many people's expressions changed. I saw that high in the sky, wind and clouds gathered. Originally, all the ranked lists dropped by 1 point. At the top, a 7-colored sacred stone, made of unknown materials, condensed out of thin air. Thousands of rays of light bloomed, like a bright blazing sun, landing on above the great desert city. Countless people could not help but close their eyes, not daring to look directly at this sacred stone. At this moment, the entire great desert city was reflected in every detail, and only powerful practitioners could see any clues. The moment they saw the content on the sacred stone, many people became serious. This is. In a corner, there was an emperor sitting cross-legged. He looked into the void, suddenly stood up, and read out the first 3 words on the colorful sacred stone. Immortal King List. From the moment when Taisha became the Immortal King, countless people have speculated in their hearts that maybe soon, there will be a list of supreme giants like the Immortal King. But what people didn't expect is that this list, it appeared so quickly and so unpredictable. This is simply unbelievable. Why did the senior Tianji poster release this list so suddenly? At the same time, in a corner, a man shrouded in the figure in the mist stopped. He had an old appearance, a gloomy complexion, and a pair of dim eyes. He exuded a look of deathly grey. And his whole person was like a resurrected mummy, all over his body. Exuding a strong death aura, if the black robe on his body was not an immortal king-level magic weapon. It is estimated that these death auras would have spread out long ago. And if the death aura on his body is not controlled, it is estimated that the entire Tianyuan world will be destroyed. Turn into a hell. Was that person just now the owner of Tianji? It's really scary. He should be a powerful quasi-immortal emperor. The figure shrouded in mist stretched out a skinny palm and turned it over in front of his eyes. After taking a look at it, he murmured softly. I just don't know if Tianji's owner is really as miraculous as Lu Qingyu and the other two said. If that's the case, he should have seen through my true identity. The words just fell. The entire great desert city was shaken. The figure shrouded in mist looked up. When he saw the three words Immortal King list, his face looked a little stunned. Said softly. Immortal King list? Interesting. Is it a list of immortal kings? But in my current state, am I considered an immortal king? Or is he a quasi-immortal emperor? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 634. Colorful sacred stones appeared in the sky. It illuminated the entire Tianyuan world. The light is too dazzling, like a mountain in the sky, it is difficult not to see it. Every word on it contains the truth of heaven. One glance at it from a distance makes people unable to help but be intoxicated. This list is like a manifestation of the will of heaven. As soon as it appeared, it eclipsed the other lists. Actually, that's exactly what it is. Immortal King list. It is no longer comparable to other lists. Anyone who can be on this list, in any world, is someone who would make the whole world tremble if he stomps his feet. Immortal King list. First place, Zhou. The Immortal King list is different from other lists. There is no description of power, no description of strength, and no description of achievements, especially the first place. Only one name appears. When the word Zhou appeared, the entire seven-colored sacred stone shone brighter, as if there was a supreme will blessing it. It seemed as if a supreme immortal king descended from the sky and landed above the mortal world. He looked down at all living beings, making countless living beings feel as if they were being crushed by a huge boulder and could hardly breathe. Obviously that creature named Zhou. Not here. But many people feel as if there is a pair of extremely deep eyes that penetrate the long river of time and look here. Who is Zhou? Number 1 on the list of immortal kings, why not me? Desolate city. In a corner, covered in fog, a figure covered in a black cloak looked at the list in the sky, trembling all over, and a pair of black eyes shot out a bit of unbelievable brilliance. He was covered in black fog. An extremely rich death energy swept out, as vast as Wang Yang. The moment the death energy spread out, he quickly took it back. After his chest rose and fell a few times, he calmed down and calmed down. The voice said, maybe. The owner of Tianji thinks that I have transcended the immortal king, so he does not list me on the immortal king list. That's right, I am no longer the immortal king. It must be so. Although he doesn't know who this Zhou is who can stand at the top of the list of immortal kings. But he thinks that he will definitely not lose to Zhou. Zhou Beg. Outside the great wilderness city. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road has a tall figure and a gentle temperament. He stands on a mountain peak with his hands behind his back. His breath is restrained and he looks like an ordinary person. He stands there quietly and looks up. looking at the void. At this moment, he has come to Tianyuan realm. It is not far from Dawang City. Originally, he planned to go to Tianji Tower to explore the reality of the Tianji Tower owner, but he did not expect to encounter the appearance of the Immortal King list. Since I bumped into it. So don't rush it for a while, you might as well finish reading it in the past. But he didn't expect that after the Immortal King list appeared, he didn't recognize the first person who just appeared on it, and he didn't even hear his name. Pass. Zhou Beg. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient path frowned and murmured to himself, people from the god realm? Or someone from the fairy world? They can't be from the demon world or other worlds, right? Although many powerful beings will use other names after they rise completely. They will not use their previous names too much. But as long as the name used by the other party, there will usually be records in ancient books. And this Zhou Qi was so unfamiliar that for a moment, the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind path could not remember the powerful immortal king. His previous name was Zhou Qi. In the world of demons, there seems to be a Yingwang who is powerful and has participated in the underworld war. Could it be that his name is Zhou Qi? There is also the mysterious Senluo ghost territory lord, who is also a strong man. He once led the demon realm to resist the attacks of all the heavens and realms. Maybe he was called Zhou Qi before. Two figures quickly flashed through the mind of the Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road. It has to be said. To a certain extent, these two people may indeed occupy the first position in the immortal king list. One has experienced the underworld war, his strength has been tested. There is no doubt about this. There is another person who can withstand the attacks of all the heavens and worlds by his own strength. He even reunites the fragmented world of heaven and demons into a rope. This method, and needless to say, strength. Just don't know, based on my strength, where can I rank? The Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road said softly. He did not participate in the underworld war back then. When the underworld swept across the heavens, he was not yet born. However, the previous Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road participated in that battle. It is a pity that one in the battle, the entire immortal wind ancient road was crippled. Even the previous immortal wind ancient road Taoist fell in that battle. It was not until he came to power that the immortal wind ancient road began to gradually recover its vitality. Now countless times have passed years ago, the immortal wind ancient road has restored its former glory. Even he himself has reached the pinnacle of the immortal king. Moreover, what he practices is the way of time. This kind of law is difficult to understand, but he can reach the extreme. To a certain extent, it also means that he has good qualifications. Even if he cannot enter the top 3, he can still be in the top 10, you can still look forward to it. In the future, when this list of immortal kings spreads throughout the world, and he is among the top 10 as the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind path, won't the entire ancient immortal wind path become famous as well? The thought of this. The Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road was even looking forward to it. Buzz. A soft cry came. The 7-colored sacred stone shone brightly again, and a shadow fell from the sky. It was as if another supreme immortal king came to this world from the other end of time and space. This time, the entire 7-colored sacred stone radiated light. There was a cold, chilling aura. It was as if the second-ranked immortal king had come to Dawang City in person. He was standing there, looking down at the sky and the earth, even if he had never seen him. This aura alone made people feel shivering. The moment he sensed this aura, the face of the Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road changed. He stepped up to the sky, wearing hunting robes, and the aura steaming from his body, as if he was facing a formidable enemy, with his eyes unblinking. He looked at the colorful sacred stone in the distance. He said in a deep voice, Lu Wuodeo. As he read out his words, the second name on the colorful sacred stone gradually emerged. Second place, Lu Wuodeo. Isn't he already dead? How come you're still alive? The list compiled by TNG Poster cannot be listed even after death, right? The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient path said in a deep voice. If he didn't know or even heard of Zhou Qi, who ranked first, then Lu Wuodeo, who ranked second, is famous. It can even be said that this man, with the strength of the immortal king, he almost created an era. Because during the war in the underworld, he was the strongest among the underworld immortal kings, and this person was also a figure of the same era as the immortal Emperor Yuanhui. At that time, he was competing with immortal Emperor Yuanhui, he still had a slight upper hand. However, immortal Emperor Yuanhui had better luck and entered the realm of quasi-immortal Emperor earlier than Lu Wuodeo. But even though immortal Emperor Yuanhui had become quasi-immortal Emperor, in a short period of time, Lu Wuodeo could not be suppressed. In addition to Lu Wuodeo's own powerful strength, he also had two quasi-immortal Emperor-level weapons in his hands. With the blessing of these two weapons, he could almost fight with him in a short period of time. The fight between quasi-immortal emperors is simply terrifying. It is said that he has also received guidance from the Lord of the Underworld, and his strength is terrifying to the point of being unpredictable. Although he is not a quasi-immortal emperor, he is better than a quasi-immortal emperor. Fortunately, in the past years after the war in the underworld, Lu Wuodeo was regarded as the first target of liquidation. It is said that on that day, two quasi-immortal emperors took action and personally killed him, even his soul was wiped out. This made countless people breathe a sigh of relief. Because if Lu Wuodeo is alive, he will definitely be a quasi-immortal emperor in time, or an extremely tyrannical quasi-immortal emperor, who has almost no opponent at the same level. But what people never expected is that after countless years, on the list of immortal kings, his name reappeared. This is too incredible. On this list of immortal kings, is he the strongest immortal king in the current generation according to statistics, or the strongest immortal king in the past and present, whether dead or alive? These 2 points have different meanings. If the dead are counted, then it means nothing to everyone that Lu Wuodeo is on the list, because he is really strong. But if the statistics only include the immortal kings who are still alive in this world, that means something different, because it means Lu Wuodeo, maybe, still alive. And he is still a supremely powerful person who stands on the side of the underworld. If he were born, it would be much more terrifying than any inheritance from the underworld. Estimate. In the world now, no one is his opponent. If the quasi-immortal emperor does not come forward, then Lu Wuodeo will be the strongest person, not counting the mysterious Zhou Qi. Because no one has ever heard of the word Zhou Qi. The dead immortal king should also be on the list. Otherwise, there is no way to explain why Lu Wuodeo ranks second. The Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road thought with a heavy heart. Even though he was standing on the opposite side and had never seen Lu Wuodeo's demeanor, he could still get a glimpse of it from the records in ancient books. But just this little bit was enough to make him fearful. After all, not everyone can defeat a quasi-immortal emperor among the same level, especially after the other party becomes a quasi-immortal emperor, there is still no way to do anything to him. This is even more terrifying. As for the underworld war, Lu Wuodeo's record was even more impressive. One person defeated almost all the immortal kings of the same level in the immortal world. Fighting alone, no one is his opponent. The entire immortal realm was so depressed that it couldn't lift its head. Fortunately, Lu Wuodeo did not come to the battlefield in the God realm. Otherwise, not everyone in the God realm would be beaten to autism. That's why I know so much about the Xianfeng ancient road. Thanks to the fact that the immortal wind ancient path was originally a force in the immortal realm, but later moved to the God realm, their ancient books recorded many secrets of the immortal realm. Among it contains the growth history of Lu Wuodeo. The Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient path sighed quietly and murmured, if the dead immortal king can also be on the list, with my strength, looking at the past, present and future. This time, he felt a little unsure. Above this world. Of all the immortal kings, he asked himself that he might be able to rank among the top 10. But, in the long history, there are too many amazing and talented people. He is a little unsure. I guess with his talent, it would be a little difficult to reach the top 100. I don't know, who is this third person in history? The Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road said softly. Deep in his heart, he almost believed that this time the immortal king list might also include fallen figures, because he really didn't want to believe it. Lu Wuodao is still alive. The words fell. In an instant, the colorful sacred stone once again shone brightly. This time, the light that bloomed was gray, and a dead breath spread, as if people mistakenly thought they had arrived in a forest of ghosts and ghosts. There was a doomsday everywhere. The sight. There seemed to be a corpse lying across the void. He was lying there quietly, but the billions of stars oppressing him were trembling with it. The moment the corpse appeared, the entire mountains and rivers of Tianyuan realm were lost. Color. Dead. The name on the colorful sacred stone has not yet been revealed, but seeing this scene, the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road was shocked. This time, he can confirm it. This time, the list of immortal kings produced by the master of Tianji is most likely to be the dead can also be on the list. Otherwise, how can we explain that this third person is a corpse? At this stage, he can still distinguish between the dead and the living. After all, the immortal king has endless lifespan. I haven't heard that the immortal king has died. Now, a corpse appears, probably a fallen immortal king, and is arranged again by the master of Tianji. I just don't know, which immortal king is this in history? The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road said curiously. He didn't let him wait long. On the colorful sacred stone, a line of writing slowly emerged. Third place, Liangfushan. Liangfushan? Liangfushan. Liangfushan. The Taoist master of the ancient immortal path murmured to himself, his eyes blank for a moment. When he first saw the name, it seemed a bit unfamiliar, but after chanting a few words, a figure gradually became clear in the depths of his mind. This immortal, the third one on the king list, he knows him. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 635. It's him. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road frowned and was inexplicably shocked. Speaking of these three words, Liang Fushen, whether it is the immortal world, the world of demons, or the creatures of the gods, they are all very unfamiliar, but when it comes to his other name, it is very strange. That is almost like thunder. Especially during the war in the underworld, this name was once famous and made countless people look at it. That is the old city lord of Hanging City. This figure, many people speculate that the strength is no less than Lu Wuodao, but unfortunately, his appearance time was too short. After killing 5 immortal kings of the underworld, he quickly retired. It can be said that he came in a hurry and left in a hurry. It was like a sudden moment. Before anyone could react, he had already left the battlefield. But in such a short period of time, he still showed his own brilliance. You know, those are the 5 immortal kings of the underworld. Not everyone can do it with their own strength. Who killed 5 immortal kings? Many people compared him with Lu Wuodao back then, but some people scorned him. The key point is, how long has Lu Wuodao been practicing? It can be said that he is the most brilliant person who has risen in the contemporary era. A character. And there is no one. Even the Yuanhui immortal emperor who became the quasi-immortal emperor, cannot conceal his style. On the other hand, the old city lord of Hanging City. This is an old monster. According to legend, in the extremely distant ancient times, he is already an immortal king, and has experienced the glorious opportunities of at least 3 quasi-immortal emperors. Not to mention the divine world, even if you look at all the heavens and worlds, there is almost no one who can live farther than him. And a person who can live for such a long time, even a pig, is probably almost invincible. Because of this, many people sneered at the old city lord of Hanging City. Many people thought that he was only as powerful as he was powerful, but after taking action, retired quickly, probably fearing death. Obviously, this is going to continue to be a coward. An old monster, after countless epochs, he is too proficient in the way of protecting himself wisely. Of course. Some people also doubt that the old man of Hanging City, the reason why the city lord took action so short was because there was something wrong with his body and his lifespan was running out. It's a pity. No one believed this statement. People in the immortal realm are already immortal, and the immortal king is even more immortal. Theoretically speaking, the old city lord of the Hanging City is as bright as the sun and the moon, and as old as the heaven and the earth. How could he not have long life? Besides, someone who can kill 5 immortal kings with one strike, how can this be seen? Peak. It is said that he is about to fall and his lifespan will be exhausted. Unless everyone is a fool. You know, during the war in the underworld, this was one of the most dazzling figures besides the immortal emperor and the quasi-immortal emperor on the battlefield. First, how could they fall so easily? More importantly, the old city lord of Hanging City did not encounter the situation like Lu Wuodeo. He was chased by 2 quasi-immortal emperors, but he retired safely. Comparing the two, the old city lord of Hanging City, the city lord should still be alive and well. But today the list of immortal kings comes out. There was a trace of aura that belonged to the old city lord of Hanging City, as well as the shadow of corpses lying in the void, and the deathly aura that covered the sky and the sun. This made many people have to rethink the rumors from back then. Especially the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind path. He frowned, recalling the ancient books he had read in his mind, and he couldn't help but have doubts in his heart. Is it possible? Are all the rumors true? Did the old city lord of Hanging City really have a physical problem that led to his death? Logically speaking, such an ancient and tyrannical immortal king would not fall easily, but he did. It is estimated that something unknown happened. The most likely thing, and the most likely thing, in the opinion of the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road, is that the old city lord hopes to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor. Because only in this way can it be possible to explain why he fell. A person who has lived for such a long time has witnessed the glorious years when several quasi-immortal emperors suppressed time and space. It is impossible to say that the old city lord is not moved. But the problem is, if he had the talent to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor, he would have broken through long ago. After procrastinating for so long, there has been no breakthrough. It has almost been announced that he has no chance at all. If you force a breakthrough, you will only lose more than you gain. Even hundreds of millions of years of cultivation will turn into running water overnight. Well, the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road sighed softly, and said with some helplessness, now it seems that the old city lord of Xiankong City has embarked on the path he should not have taken. Now that the old city lord has died, I am afraid that the life of Hanging City will not be easy in the future. In the past, the Hanging City was very glorious, and to this day, it is considered one of the transcendent forces. All of this is attributed to the old city lord. Because from time to time, there will be rumors in the Hanging City that the old city lord is going to leaving seclusion, or giving advice on the deeds of younger generations. The news of such things makes many people afraid. Even after so long, the old city lord's style during the underworld war still makes people fascinated. If he had survived until now. Only I am afraid that his strength will only become stronger. He alone can be equal to 5 powerful immortal kings. Because of this, even if the hanging city only has one immortal king, the old city owner, others do not dare to show any disrespect to the hanging city. But now, as soon as the immortal king list comes out, it is estimated that countless people will understand instantly after taking a look. The old city lord's feelings have long been gone? Then the old city lord's deeds before, isn't it that your Xiankong city is playing tricks on you? Without the protection of the old city lord, no one can say for sure whether the hanging city can still exist. Even if the old city lord of the hanging city has made a significant contribution to the divine world, it is not enough to guarantee the safety of the hanging city. Chill. Having said that, it is expected that the old city lord of hanging city would rank among the top 3 in the endless history of history. The Taoist master of the ancient immortal path murmured. A person with good talent, who has lived for many epochs, can be called the oldest existence, even older than some quasi-immortal emperors. It is not an exaggeration for such a person to become the strongest immortal king. Now he is only in 3rd place. To be honest, many people think it is too low. Really? The first one, Zhou Qi, has never been heard of. The second one, Lu Wuodao, only became famous in the Underworld War. These 3 people are more powerful than each other. I probably haven't played against each other before. It's said to be tied for 1st place. Many people have no opinion. Just 3rd. Desolate city. In an inconspicuous corner, a figure wearing a black robe, with mist rolling around him, stood there. His body shrouded in the black robe was trembling slightly. A pair of black eyes covered with corpse spots, the palms were just clenched together, and the aura of destruction burst out between the palms. Once swept out, the entire great desert city. In other words, the entire Tianyuan world will be completely destroyed. How can I be the 3rd one? I am a quasi-immortal emperor. How can I be on the same list as them? Could it be that the owner of Tianji was just because I died once? So you put me on the immortal king list and you want to humiliate me. The figure in black robe is none other than the old city lord of Xiankong city who followed Lu Zhenjun to Tianyuan realm. After listening to the conversation between the lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu, he quickly came to Tianyuan realm and came here later. He discovered that the Tianji Tower actually possessed such majesty. Especially the other party's uncanny ability to make calculations, which made him a little curious. Originally, he wanted to go to the Tianji Tower and inquire about some news. But due to his own reasons, he backed down. Because he still doesn't know what kind of existence the owner of Tianji Tower is, and his current state is not quite right. Stepping into Tianji Tower rashly may not necessarily be a blessing or a disaster. Just when he was hesitant, the Immortal King list turned out. Originally, he thought that his strength should not be included in this list. Even if he was on it, he would still be number 1. After all, his strength was there. But who would have thought that he was indeed on the list? But not only was he not ranked 1st, he was not even ranked 2nd. He was only ranked 3rd. He felt very offended. He was a quasi-immortal emperor. How could he be inferior to 2 immortal kings? If he were the old city lord of Hanging City before, he might not say much, but now he is no longer the old city lord of Hanging City, but a brand new existence. How can he swallow this breath? Since you ranked the list of immortal kings and humiliated me first, then don't blame me for being rude. The old city lord of Hanging City smiled solemnly. He stretched out his palm. In the palm of his skinny palm, a black mist rolled, exuding an aura of destruction. It is said that you, the master of Tianji Tower, have wonderful calculations. Have you ever calculated that such a disaster will happen in Dawang City today? If Master Tianji can stop him, then he can tentatively believe that Master Tianji can indeed predict the future. But if so, he destroys Dawang City by himself, but Master Tianji doesn't know anything about it. This also proves that the other party is just a person seeking fame and reputation. Buzz. The void trembled, and a heaven-destroying aura surged out, like a tide, madly spreading in all directions. The grey mist quickly spread out. Oh, the owner of Tianji is nothing more than. The old city lord of Hanging City sneered. But before the laughter faded, the smile on his face froze completely. He found that the mist he had sent out had rolled back faster. Wherever you go, the void cracks. The void in front of him was like a mirror. A huge crack appeared silently in front of him, and a palm as gentle as jade slowly poked out. This palm seems to be made of white jade, unstained by dust. There is a breath of creation flowing between the fingers of the palm, and the birth and death of all things is like the hand of God. Although the speed is slow, it is blessed by the power of cause and effect. The owner of the palm gave the old city owner of Hanging City the illusion that no matter where he hid, he would definitely hit him. No. The old city lord of Hanging City roared. He wanted to escape, but suddenly found that the void around him was completely blocked. Even if he was an immortal king, or even a quasi-immortal emperor with 1 foot, he would not be able to escape. Tear the void and leave. I can only watch the palm imprinted on my body. Quasi-immortal emperor. The eyes of the old city master of Xiankong City were splitting. It was not until this moment that he realized how big the gap was between himself and a quasi-immortal emperor, or between him and the master of Tianji. If it were another quasi-immortal emperor, he didn't think he was so powerless to resist. But facing the master of Tianji, everything was different. He was like an ant, letting others slaughter him. Bang! The palm of his hand was slapped on the body of the old city lord of Hanging City. He flew out like a cannonball, forming an arc in the sky and leaping hundreds of millions of miles. He crashed directly into the Zixuan realm. In the middle. When he flew out upside down, a cold voice sounded in his ears. Roll. The word go was like thunder from the sky, leaving him unable to recover for a long time. Boom. In the Zixuan realm, a mountain range collapsed, the sky was filled with smoke and dust, covering the sky and the sun, covering thousands of miles of void. Among them, a broken figure, covered in blood, stood up staggeringly. As soon as he stood up, he opened his mouth and vomited. A mouthful of blood. The whole person quickly succumbed. In the Tianji Tower, Li Yun looked cold and slowly retracted his palm. Looking at everything that happened in the Zixuan realm, he snorted softly. If the immortal king list hadn't just appeared, you wouldn't be so advantageous today. After all, the old city lord of Hanging City is also the third-ranked person. I can't kill this person all at once, keeping him alive is more valuable than dead. After all, this person will be of great use in the near future. System. Li Yun waved his palm, picked up the teacup on the side, took a sip of tea, and said slowly, let the 4th and 5th names go out too. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 names appeared again on the colorful sacred stone outside. 4th place, Abyss. 5th place, Tianji, G. As soon as these 2 rankings came out, whether it was the Taoist master of the ancient immortal Wind Road, the old city lord of Hanging City who had just been severely damaged, or other creatures who had just arrived in Tianyuan world, all fell into silence. Not because of anything else. It's because these 2 people were both high-ranking officials in the underworld in the past. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 636. It's actually these 2 people. A soft murmur came out. The 2 figures on the border of Tianyuan realm suddenly froze in place. These 2 people were none other than the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu, who came quickly from Tianyuan realm. They standing in the void, looking up at the colorful sacred stones above the great desert city, the expression on his face was extremely wonderful, as if he had seen something unbelievable. Aren't these two people already dead? Lu Qingyu said. Although he was born relatively late, the Lu family is still a powerful force. There are countless ancient books in the family. As for the situation before the underworld, he has seen some from the ancient books of the clan. The war. At that time, he was a treasure trove of some outstanding figures. For example, Lu Wuodao, the old city lord of Xiankong City, and others. As for the fates of Yan Yuan and Tianji, Lu Qingyu had also seen some of them. These two immortals, the king is not the immortal king who later took refuge in the underworld. Rather, he is someone who has followed the master of the underworld from the beginning. It can be said that their qualifications are higher than Lu Wuodao in the underworld. Lu Wuodao joined the underworld later and established his contribution is relatively large, but the length of following the lord of the underworld in the world depends on these two immortal kings. With the lord of the underworld above his head, a few words from him can serve an immortal king for a lifetime. And devouring, to be honest, it is not surprising that Yuan and Tianji appear in such a high ranking. After all, not everyone can be guided by the immortal emperor. For those who have already fallen, will senior Tianji building master still be ranked in the queue? Lu Qingyu said puzzledly. Ah. The lord of Tianmang Mountain chuckled and said lightly, aren't the top 5 who have appeared now all fallen? Even the number 1 Zhou Qi, in my opinion, may have fallen countless years ago. Otherwise, how could we not have heard of him at all? Logically speaking, he can beat Lu Wuodao. Then this person should be the most dazzling figure in any era, but they have no impression at all. This is too weird. It is as if in the long history, there is no such thing as this person. The only explanation is, this person died too early. Zhou Qi was already born when there were no records in ancient books. The two Taoist friends Yan Yuan and Tianji are still here, so you and I may not have to walk so hard. The lord of Tianmang Mountain said with a faint look. He was also a member of the underworld in the past, so he had naturally seen the grace of these two immortal kings. Even today, he still vividly remembers it. He did not dare to expect too much from Lu Wuodao in the underworld. Because Lu Wuodao is too indifferent. Even if he joins the underworld, he is still a very unique character. Even if Lu Wuodao is still alive, the lord of Tianmang Mountain will not dare to look for him. If Lu Wuodao disowns his relatives and kills him, there is no reason to do so. However, the two immortal kings, Yan Yuan and Tianji, are different. They are loyal deployments of the underworld. As long as I carry the banner of the underworld, these two immortal kings will definitely not reject me. Maybe. Still. Will he lend a helping hand to himself? Let me ask. If the two immortal kings ranked 4th and 5th join forces, except for the top 3 immortal kings and the quasi-immortal emperor, who else can resist? Fellow Taoist, with your strength, can you be on the list? Lu Qingyu suddenly asked. The strength of the lord of Tianmang Mountain is obvious to all. In the Battle of Sumi Realm not long ago, he single-handedly defeated the 7th ancestor and Lu Xiancheng who joined forces. You know, the 7th ancestor also participated in it. It's a battle in the underworld. But it's hard to resist the lord of Tianmang Mountain. More importantly, the lord of Tianmang Mountain used a part of his mind to control the killing formation. Lu Qingyu sighed to himself that this method was incomparable. If even the lord of Tianmang Mountain cannot be on the list, he can't imagine how terrifying the people on the list are. He can't even imagine how powerful the top 10 people must be. Probably so. The lord of Tianmang Mountain said with some uncertainty. If he were just ranking the immortal kings who were still alive in this world, he 100% believed that he could be on the list, but the 5 who have come out now have all fallen. Of course. This is they think. As a result, the lord of Tianmang Mountain is a little less confident. Because no one can know how long the long river of time is and how many epochs have gone through in the past. In this endless time, there are amazing talents and beautiful people. There are simply too many. Even though the Lord of Tianmang Mountain once controlled the Tianyun realm and could be said to be the only one in the universe, he still lacks confidence. Keep reading, maybe there will be results soon. Lu Qingyu said slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, a name appeared again on the colorful sacred stone. This immortal king, as expected, is still recognized as the fallen immortal king, and he is also from the underworld. The sixth place is also the immortal king of the underworld. Lu Qingyu turned his head and took a deep look at the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. It was not until this moment that he realized how powerful the underworld was back then. Judging from the strength of a single entity, the underworld was really too strong. Most of the people are people from the underworld. On their side, except Zhou Qi, it is estimated that only the old city lord of Xiankong City is on the side of the heavens and the world. If it is not the side of the heavens and the world, the quasi-immortal emperor will be more. There are a few more, and there is a god emperor holding the sky with one hand. It is estimated that all the heavens and realms have long been ruled by the underworld. 7th place. 8th place. 9th place, Li Changfeng. 10th place. One by one, the most famous immortal king appeared on the list. It was not until the 10th place appeared that everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that this list should be the 10 most powerful immortal kings in all the worlds in the past and present. However, they have all fallen. Lu Qingyu breathed a sigh of relief. In his opinion, this list has been completed. Because, judging from the past rankings of Tianji Luzhu, the more powerful the people, the smaller the number of the lists they are on. And the immortal king is already at the top. It is estimated that in this list of immortal kings, if nothing else happens, there are only 10 people. 10 people who have fallen. The list they are on is just for fun. It's just a matter of time, don't take it to heart. Anyway, they can't affect it. The next quasi-immortal emperor will be born by chance. It's impossible. These people will be resurrected collectively and participate in their next plan, right? Alas, Changfeng immortal king, pity. Seeing the 9th place. Even if it was Lu Qingyu, he couldn't help but sigh. This person existed for a very long time. It is speculated that it should be the era before Yuanhui immortal emperor, and at that time, Li Changfeng already had the status of quasi-immortal emperor. He was called the number 1 person. He also made countless geniuses breathless. When Emperor Yuanhui and Lu Wuodao were born, he even guided Lu Wuodao for a period of time. This deed, at that time, it has also been passed down as a good story. After all, there is a person who is the first person under the quasi-immortal emperor of the previous era, and a person who is the first person under the quasi-immortal emperor of this era. These two people are both teachers and friends. They join forces. They can almost dominate all the worlds. At that time, there was no one who could rival the two of them. It was a pity. Later, immortal Emperor Yuanhui suddenly broke through and wanted to liquidate Lu Wuodao. After all, when he was young, immortal Emperor Yuanhui could not beat anyone except Lu Wuodao. Can be crushed. Now that he has become the quasi-immortal emperor, he naturally has to find his place. During that time, Lu Wuodao was forced very miserably. He could compete with the quasi-immortal emperor for a short time, but it was almost impossible to win. In desperation, Lu Wuodao took refuge in the underworld. When Lu Wuodao and the underworld army attacked the fairy world, the first person he faced was Li Changfeng, a figure who was both his teacher and friend. The two of them shocked the world. After the first battle, countless worlds were shattered, and finally only Lu Wuodao returned with Li Changfeng's head. As for Li Changfeng, there have been no rumors since then. Many people estimate that Li Changfeng should have been beheaded. After all, his head was after Lu Wuodao was brought back. How can people be better? Of course. There are also some people who speculate that Li Changfeng ran away in the end. After all, the immortal king is difficult to kill. A head means nothing at all. What if Li Changfeng did his soul run away? It's not impossible to spend some time to reshape his body. It's not a good idea. He gave it to a certain protagonist to become a grandfather. After the Underworld War, many people held two attitudes towards the whereabouts of Li Changfeng. One side believes that Li Changfeng has died, and the other side believes that Li Changfeng is still alive. But no matter which attitude, Li Changfeng has never shown his face since then. This is an indisputable fact. And this incident also became the key to the war in the underworld. An unsolved mystery. It is estimated that the only ones who know the truth are Li Changfeng and Lu Wuodao. Unfortunately, Lu Wuodao is gone, and Li Changfeng should be gone too. This unsolved mystery, what is the truth, maybe no one will know it anymore. Let's go. We also want to go to Tianji Tower. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain glanced at the seven-colored divine stone again, and then withdrew his gaze. These 10 fallen immortal kings have no use except ranking them in terms of strength. At the very least, they cannot affect them. Look. It doesn't mean much if you don't look at it. At most, some ordinary cultivators have more things to talk about after dinner, and they have 10 more goals to catch up with. It is estimated that they will not reach the first place in the Immortal King list in the future. This is the quasi-immortal emperor. No one will wear the title of number 1 person casually. In the past, the old city lord of Hanging City, Li Changfeng, Lu Wuodao, and Lu Qinghong of the Lu clan all held the title of number 1 person under the quasi-immortal emperor. Now, just take a look at the Immortal King list. He didn't even make it to the top 10. Who gave him the courage to be the first person under the quasi-immortal emperor? Lu Wuodao can fight head-on with the quasi-immortal emperor, but he didn't even get to the top. In this position, others don't even have the courage to face the immortal emperor. Even if they bear this title, they will probably be laughed to death. This time when I go to Tianji Tower, I might be able to ask the senior owner of Tianji Tower to rank the 10 strongest immortal kings among all the worlds in the world. Lu Qingyu said with a chuckle. If the current list comes out, wouldn't it be clear at a glance who his biggest enemy is in the future? Wait until the quasi-immortal emperor is born. At that time, the person ranked first will definitely be attacked by a group of people. Not a bad proposition. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain raised his eyebrows and figured out the stakes. After he chuckled, he sighed again and said, I'm afraid if I get on the list, it will be detrimental to our next actions. Lu Qingyu. He admitted that the Lord of Tianmang Mountain was very powerful, but he did not expect that the other party would be so shameless. The list had not come out yet, and he already thought he was on the list. It's too early to say at this point. Lu Qingyu said in a low voice. Ah! The Lord of Tianmang Mountain chuckled, but he didn't take it seriously. He knew his own strength best. After the war in the underworld, the strong men fell one after another. He, the immortal king who was originally the second echelon, has now stood in the first echelon. As for rising stars like Lu Qingyu, to be honest, he didn't take it seriously. He has walked on more bridges than he has walked on. His strength is not even a little bit stronger. He has not reached the point of a life and death fight. No one can know where his limit is. Walk. Go to Tianji Tower. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said something. Then he raised his steps and wanted to go to Tianji Tower. But before his footsteps even fell, a soft buzz sound was heard. The colorful sacred stone in the distance shone brightly again, and a clear line of text on it appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Number 11, the extraterrestrial demon king. What? Seeing this line of handwriting, not only Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain were confused, but even the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind road who was far away was also confused. What's going on? This immortal king list, I don't know if it is 10. There is a quota? And there is an 11th place? The most important thing is, who is this extraterrestrial demon king? I have never heard of it. The other party has not participated in the underworld war, and he is still an extraterrestrial creature, so it is hard to say whether the other party is dead or alive. It is very likely that he is still alive. If the top 10 on the list of immortal kings are all dead, then this extraterrestrial demon king is the well-deserved first person under the quasi-immortal emperor. What happened? Lu Qingyu frowned, looking at the 7-colored sacred stone above Dawang City, and murmured, how high does the master of Tianji Tower want to be ranked in this immortal king list? 20? Or 100? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 637. Senior Tianji poster, it seems that he didn't follow common sense this time. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain murmured to himself. As soon as he finished speaking, another name was revealed on the colorful sacred stone. 12th place, Nangang Yun. It's him. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu looked at each other. The demon king from outside the territory may be very unfamiliar to them, but the word Nangang Yun is still very familiar. This person is almost the strongest among the existing immortal kings in the god realm. Existence. He also experienced a battle in the underworld, but he survived. Not only did he survive, but his strength also improved to a higher level. Back then, in the fairy world, he was the only one who could compete with Lu Wuodao for a period of time. Of course, it was just a matter of resistance for a period of time. Behind Lu Wuodao, there stood the Lord of the Underworld. But behind Nangang Yun, it was the Divine Emperor. However, there were still several powerful people in the Divine Court established by the Divine Emperor back then. In terms of strength, they were not inferior to Nangang Yun, but unfortunately, they all fell. Wrong. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain thought of something in general. His eyes froze, he turned to look at Lu Qingyu, and said in a deep voice, do you think there is a possibility that the person on the list this time is not the strongest immortal king in the past and present, but the strongest immortal king still alive today? No, no way. Lu Qingyu's expression was a little stiff when he heard this. This is a bit unbelievable. On the list of immortal kings, top 10. Most of them are people who have been confirmed to have fallen. Even if they have not been confirmed, almost all have fallen. The rumors spread in all directions. Now, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain suddenly said that these people are still alive, which is a bit incredible. Let's not talk about the number 1 Zhou Qi for now. Just one Lu Wuodao is enough to overwhelm them. Anger came. That was an existence that had conquered all realms in ancient times and defeated invincible opponents at the same level. How terrifying would it be if it lived to this day and age? It is simply unimaginable. It is probably not a quasi-immortal emperor. It's better than the quasi-immortal emperor. After all, a person like him won't always stand still. Actually, I think it's unlikely, but I always have this intuition. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said in a deep voice. The timing of this list's appearance was very clever. Almost immediately before the quasi-immortal emperor appeared, he suddenly appeared above the great desert city. Why did the senior Tianji poster do this? If all those listed are fallen immortal kings, it is obvious that the senior Tianji building master does not need to release this list at this moment. But now, this list came out by such a coincidence. If there is no deep meaning from the owner of Tianji, he will not believe it. If all these people were alive, then this world would seem a little too scary. Lu Qingyu said softly. Competing with such a person on the same stage, Lu Qingyu had no confidence in his heart. His strength was not outstanding during the war in the underworld. Not to mention, he could survive in the war with these people. Which characters are better or worse? On this list of immortal kings, most of the characters that have appeared have experienced the First World War. This shows the gold content of these characters. It can be said that the First World War is a touchstone. Almost all the people with weak strength have fallen. Even the Lord of Tianmang Mountain, who has not been on the list so far, is not something that ordinary people can deal with. It is not stressful at all for someone of the same level to fight against several immortal kings. If I remember correctly back then, there were several figures on the Shenting side, some of them powerful, and they had lived for who knows how many years. Among the immortal kings, it is rare to find an opponent. Logically speaking, compared with Nangang Yun, they should be equally matched. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain whispered. As if he remembered something, he raised his head and looked in the direction of Tianyuan realm. There was a 7-colored sacred stone floating there. The ranking above had reached the 20th place. But the people related to Shenting were still there is only Nangang Yun. This is too abnormal. Could it be that the people in Shenting are gone, but the people in the underworld are still alive? You know, the Shenting is the victor. And the underworld is the loser. Why? Now the result is completely opposite. The top 10 were almost rounded up by the strong men in the underworld. With a few exceptions, the old city lord of Hanging City and Li Changfeng were still on the side of the world. But from beginning to end, he has never joined the divine court. Although I did not participate in that battle, I heard that after the victory, the God Emperor may have fallen or left this world. Perhaps. The God Emperor is no longer in the world, so the powerful men in the divine court are not included in this list. Lu Qingyu said this. There were many doubts about what he said. Even Lu Qingyu himself didn't believe it. But other than this statement, he really couldn't find any reason that could convince him. No matter how you put it, from the current point of view, through this list of immortal kings, the strength of the underworld in the past can already be seen as the tip of the iceberg. Lu Qingyu said with a smile. This is also the biggest reason why he joined the underworld. Although the underworld is gone, its inheritance is too much. If you get anyone, you can use it for life. Someone said it is the inheritance of the Lord of the Underworld, even if it is the inheritance of the quasi-immortal emperor in the underworld is also extremely precious. Didn't the ancient scriptures left by immortal Emperor Yuan Hui play a big role in the rapid rise of the Lu clan? 34th place, Ying. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain raised his head and glanced at the colorful sacred stone, and murmured. As expected, this person should be the Ying Wang in the demon world. Another immortal king from the underworld. Lu Qingyu agreed. Compared with the top 10 immortal kings, King Ying's luster is much dimmed, but it is not something that ordinary people can deal with. Even the Lord of Tianmang Mountain admires him very much. I fought alongside him in the past. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said with a wry smile. During the Underworld War, he and the Ying Wang were about the same strength, but he has been sealed for so long. Although his strength has increased a little, it is obviously not as good as the Ying Wang. He is a high-ranking person. 34th, but he didn't even get a rank. Oh. Lu Qingyu raised his eyebrows, his heart moved, and he said if we can win over a few immortal kings from the demon world to help, maybe our plan will have a high success rate. The heavenly demon realm. This is a powerful world. The only shortcoming is probably that the creatures in the heavenly demon realm are too violent. Even the immortal king will attack if they disagree. Even the Lord of Tianmang Mountain is very angry about it. He has a headache. He wants the support of the heavenly demon realm, but will the heavenly demon realm really care about him? In the heavenly demon realm, the weak prey on the strong. Without enough strength, there is no qualification for equal dialogue. He is no longer the same as he was back then. Looking for Yingying again Wang, even he is not sure whether people will pay attention to him. I just don't know if the heavenly demon realm has received any news about the opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said. The rumor of the quasi-immortal emperor's opportunity spread very quickly. In a short period of time, all the powerful people in the god realm and immortal realm heard the news. But can the heavenly demon realm know this news? In the heavenly realm, from the perspective of the Lord of Mang Mountain, not necessarily. The heavenly demon realm has been exiled and is almost cut off from outside news. It is still a bit difficult for them to know the news about the opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor. Maybe. This time. The heavenly demon realm's creatures will never come here. No matter how you say it, with the strength of you and me, it is too weak. It would be fine if we didn't have this immortal king list. Now that we have it, no matter what we say, we must win over the one above. Lu Qingyu glanced at the immortal king list and said in a deep voice. As soon as he said this, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain felt a little unhappy. His own strength was not bad. Why did Lu Qingyu's words imply that he could not be on the list? It stands to reason. Said. It's impossible. Although he was sealed for a long time, the power of the seal became very weak before long. He can practice it to some extent. He was not a weakling during the war in the underworld. Later, his strength increased. It has increased a bit, and it is still on the list no matter how you look at it, but the ranking may be a little lower. Another name appeared on the colorful sacred stone. After the Lord of Tianmang Mountain saw it clearly, he glanced at Lu Qingyu meaningfully and said slowly. Number 53, Lu Qinghong. Is this the genius of the Lu family who rose up with you? 53rd. To be honest, this ranking is not high. It can only be ranked in the middle. But think about it from another angle. This is the ranking of all the immortal kings in the world combined. It is very scary. Except for the immortal emperor and the quasi-immortal emperor, there are only 52 immortal kings more powerful than Lu Qinghong. More importantly, Lu Qinghong's rise was short. Most of the others lived for one era or two. And even worse, like the old city lord of the hanging city, God knows how long he lived. On the other hand, Lu Qinghong rose to power after the Underworld War. In less than an era, he was already on the list of immortal kings, still ranked 53rd. The profile also reflects his talents. No wonder. He was the first person under the quasi-immortal emperor for a period of time. Snort. Just luck. Lu Qingyu snorted coldly and said disdainfully. Although his voice was cold, anyone could hear his sour taste. The two of them were from the same clan, and they were born at about the same time. They had similar status in the clan and enjoyed almost the same resources. But he is on the immortal king ranking. He is still in the middle. What about me? Currently, I can't even see a ranking, so there is probably no hope. After all. Not to mention, there is a Tianmang who is stronger than him next to him, not to mention the Lord of the Mountain. There are 7 ancestors, 2 ancestors and others in the Lu family, each of whom is much stronger than him. If these people are not on the list, he will never be on the list. Then his luck is too good. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said jokingly. With luck, he was able to reach the 53rd place on the Immortal King list. To be honest, he also wanted such luck. Fellow Taoist, are you making fun of me? Lu Qingyu was dissatisfied. Although he was a little inferior to Lu Qinghong, he was not useless. Otherwise, how could he have become the immortal king? Compared with Lu Qinghong, he was indeed not very good, but compared with others, Lu Qingyu was still a good one. An out-and-out genius. No. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain shook his head and said with a chuckle, I'm just feeling a little emotional. I have been sealed for so long. I never thought that many changes have taken place in the world. This Lu Qinghong surprised me very much. If we didn't have this immortal king list, once we faced him, I'm afraid the two of us wouldn't be able to take advantage. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu have formed an alliance. They are like grasshoppers on a rope. They are naturally on the opposite side of Lu Qinghong. In the future, if the quasi-immortal emperor is born by chance, he will inevitably have to fight. If you haven't seen it, in this immortal king list, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain thought to himself that he might still underestimate him, but after reading the immortal king list, everything was different. The senior Tianji building master said that Lu Qinghong was very strong. How could he still want it? Underestimating the other party. After a while. 93, Mu Xianfeng. Another ranking came out. When the Lord of Tianmang Mountain saw this man, he couldn't help but feel cold in his heart. Although it is still unclear how many rankings there will be on the Immortal King list, he estimates that it should be 100. Now, the 93rd came out. He is still unknown on the list. Could it be? With my own strength, is it really impossible for me to make the list? 94th, Feng Sheng. As soon as this name came out, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain immediately breathed a sigh of relief, and finally made the list. Although the ranking is a bit behind. But at least it's on the list. When he walks out in the future, he is also a figure on the list of immortal kings. There are only 93 people who are stronger than him. As long as he does not encounter them, the others are just rotten fish. For example, Lu Qingyu next to him. Thinking of this, he glanced sideways at the other party, and a cold light flashed deep in his eyes. Congratulations to fellow Taoist for being on the list. Lu Qingyu cupped his hands and said with a little envy. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain is only ranked 94th. He knew that he had no chance. With his own strength, it might be difficult to squeeze into the top 300. And how many immortal kings exist in the world? No one can tell this clearly. I am afraid that only the senior Tianji building master can know the exact number. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 638. Same joy. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain also returned the gift. But no matter what, he couldn't hide the smile on his lips. He has been sealed for so long and has reached the 94th position on the Immortal King list. This is already not easy. If you haven't been sealed. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain glanced at the top 50 on the Immortal King list, with a trace of dissatisfaction flashing in his eyes. In such a long time, his strength will definitely increase greatly, and he will be ranked at the top, instead of his current status of being at the bottom. Thinking of the quasi-immortal emperor who sealed him back then. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. If the other party had not fallen, if the quasi-immortal emperor was born this time, he would be able to successfully break through. This account must be settled with the other party. After all, the other party not only sealed himself, he also smashed Tianyun realm into pieces. What does this mean? This means that the other party wants to cut off all his roots. To know. Tianyun realm is the place where I live my life, but the other party dismembered Tianyun realm without hesitation. This is normal. Something that can be done? This time when we go to Tianji Tower, it seems that we have to ask for one more news. Lu Qingyu touched his storage ring and felt like his heart was bleeding. Yes. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain nodded. The whereabouts of many people on this list of immortal kings are unknown. Even if they are alive or dead, they cannot be sure. Not only the top 10 people, but even the top 50, there are many existences that have been confirmed to have fallen, but now appear on the rankings. This is a bit unusual no matter how you look at it. If you want to compete for the opportunity to be a quasi-immortal emperor, the first thing you have to do is to confirm whether these people are still alive. If they are dead, it's okay. But if, or at a critical moment, a person ranked high on the Immortal King list is killed, it will be a catastrophic blow to ordinary immortal kings. not to mention the distance. Just take the sky as for the Lord of Mang Mountain, he, who is almost at the bottom of the ranking, can overpower Lu Xiancheng and the seventh ancestor of the Lu clan. Ordinary immortal kings, facing the Lord of Tianmang Mountain, are looking for death? The strength of a person who ranks higher than the Lord of Tianmang Mountain is almost beyond the expectations of ordinary immortal kings. Let's go. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain raised his feet and walked forward. His figure instantly disappeared between heaven and earth, but his figure slowly floated over and echoed in the void. It's time for us to go to the Tianji Tower. Now that the Immortal King list has been released, I'm afraid it won't be long before the Tianyuan world is filled with immortal kings. If we don't go to Tianji Tower in advance, we might be targeted by someone with serious intentions. The opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor has spread throughout the world. I don't know how many powerful immortal kings are on their way. It is not a problem for these people to find out some secrets of the Lu family, let alone the Lu family has no intention of hiding it at all. Maybe. At this moment, almost everyone knows that Lu Qingyu has colluded with the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. Once these people see Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain, they will, whether you choose not to see it or do it directly, no one can guarantee it. Lu Qingyu looked at the direction in which the Lord of Tianmang Mountain left, the light in his eyes changed, but then he regained his composure. Without saying a word, he quickly following in the footsteps of the other party. At the same time, on the other side, the three kings of the Lu family rushed back from the chaos. They took a long time and deliberately went in a circle to avoid being tracked by the strong men in the demon world. After confirming after no one followed them, they were back to the Tianyuan world. Once here, they were finally relieved. It was true that there were quasi-immortal emperors in the Tianmo world, but there were also Tianyuan world. Moreover, in their opinion, the senior Tianji building master might be even more powerful. It's better, because I told them before they set off. This trip was a near miss. Looking back now, isn't it just a near miss? If it is not unexpected, the senior Tianji building owner may have known it for a long time. The quasi-immortal emperor of the heavenly demon realm exists. On the contrary, the Senluo ghost territory lord of the heavenly demon realm seems to know nothing about the existence of the Tianji building master. Compare the two and make a judgment. Finally back. Lu Qinzi breathed a sigh of relief. Ever since he met the lord of the Senluo ghost territory, his heart has been hanging. Even if he returns to the god realm, he does not have much sense of security. The stronger the god realm, the better. But there seems to be no strong quasi-immortal emperor. If the master of the Senluo ghost realm comes to kill, it will be a tiger among the sheep. They can only wait for the kill, and there is no way to resist. But the Tianyuan world is different. With the senior Tianji building master here, who dares to act arrogantly? Those who dare to act arrogantly in Dawang City seem to have no good end. I only hope that the second ancestor and Qinghong will not reveal their lies after going to the vicinity of the demon realm. After all, they are already very close to the demon realm. Lu Xiancheng said with concern. The three of them are safe. But the second ancestor and Lu Xiancheng went to the demon realm. The two of them still have to arrange things near the opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor. There is no guarantee that they will not be caught. The ghost domain lord noticed. It should be fine. The lord of the Senluo ghost territory will not be idle and will check the surroundings of the demon realm every day. Lu Qinzi said easily. After all, cultivators have to practice every day. Who would spread their consciousness and monitor the surroundings all the time? If you do everything yourself, what do you need those subordinates to do? It seems reasonable. Lu Xiancheng nodded, and he continued to speak, but before he could say anything, he suddenly realized something was wrong. The seventh ancestor, who had been standing next to him, seemed to have arrived. Then he said nothing. Doesn't this seem like the character of the seventh patriarch? Seventh ancestor? Lu Xiancheng said something. Do not talk. The seventh ancestor shouted coldly. He looked at the direction of Dawang city without blinking and murmured to himself, Lu Wuidao, the old city lord of Xiankong city, Yan Yuan, Tianji, Li Changfeng. Aren't all these people dead? How come? How could this be? Senior Tianji host, what exactly are you going to do? The aura of the Immortal King list is different from other lists. Not to mention the Tianyuan realm, even standing in the Zixuan realm, it cannot hide the existence of these immortal kings from them. As long as their spiritual consciousness spreads out, they can easily see it. Contents on the colorful sacred stone. Lu Xiancheng and Lu Qinzi quickly realized that something was wrong. They looked at each other and followed the gaze of the seventh ancestor. Just one glance. The two of them were stunned. How is this going? When they left, there should not have been a list of immortal kings above the Tianji Tower. Why did another list suddenly appear? Except for the names on it, which they had never heard of, everyone else was famous. Not to mention those at the top, even the Lord of Tianmang Mountain who is at the bottom. That is not Yi Yi's generation. Can the majestic Lord of Tianmang Mountain only be ranked 94th? Lu Xiancheng was silent. They also experienced the battle in the underworld. Among their Lu clan, there were two powerful immortal kings, a seventh ancestor and a second ancestor, but none of them were on the list. This is a bit hard to accept. You know, the Lord of Mang Mountain was sealed that day. If he had not been sealed, how powerful would he be now? Why? Lu Qinzi's expression changed, and his body trembled with excitement, as if he had seen something incredible. He raised one hand, pointed at the colorful sacred stone in the distance, and said, Qinghong is on the list. Lu Qinghong is their junior and has been mentored by 3 people. Today, they saw a familiar name on the colorful sacred stone, which made them excited. This is the only seedling of the Lu family. The huge Lu family, there are several immortal kings, and only Lu Qinghong is on the list. How can this make them not excited? It can be said that Lu Qinghong alone has made the Lu family reach a higher level. Ranked 53rd, this ranking is very high. Unlike others, after seeing the colorful sacred stone, the seventh patriarch seemed very satisfied with Lu Qinghong's ability to reach this point. The people in front of Lu Qinghong were all amazingly talented and had lived for countless years. Only Lu Qinghong, it's the rise of the world. It's still in the middle of the pack, which has already made many people feel ashamed. Qinghong is much stronger than us old guys. From now on, the Lu family will depend on him. The seventh ancestor stroked his beard and said with a smile. With Lu Qinghong's potential, he will definitely be able to get closer in the future. Although he is currently ranked 53rd, as long as he gets a chance, he might be able to be among the top 30. Even the top 20, it's not impossible to think about it. As for the top 10, it's more difficult. Among the top 10, all of them have overshadowed an era. Except for the quasi-immortal emperor, who can dim their glory a little, almost all other people at the same level are its a foil. Yes, who would have thought that Qinghong could be here in one place, a place to stand among the old monsters? Lu Qinzi sighed. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately stopped talking. He knew that he had made a mistake. To a certain extent, the seventh ancestor next to him was also an old monster, because he was also a figure from the previous era after the Underworld War. Until now, it is considered a new era. In this new era, because there is no quasi-immortal emperor, there are no calendar years. Only Lu Qinghong can be regarded as the leading figure of this era. No problem. The seventh patriarch waved his hand and said indifferently, compared with Qinghong, I am indeed old. Let's go. Now that we've finished reading the Immortal King list, it's time for us to go to the Tianji Tower. The seventh patriarch said and walked straight ahead. If it's too late, I'm afraid there won't be any room in the Tianji Tower. What the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and others can think of, they naturally also thought of it. The Immortal King list has come out, and the next thing is the chance of the quasi-immortal emperor. When the time comes, the people who are famous on the list will probably jump. It is a mess. It is not easy to stand out among so many powerful people. Even if there is no top 10, just the bottom 90. It is not something they can participate in. Only Lu Qinghong can stabilize the situation to some extent. What the three of them can do now is to get as much information as possible, and then let Lu Qinghong gain some advantages, and it is best to become a quasi-immortal emperor. At the same time, the world of demons. In the dark and empty hall, a pair of eyes opened faintly. In the middle, the sun was falling and the moon was falling. It was a terrifying scene of the end of the world. There were floating corpses of thousands of people, and the sea of blood overflowed the sky. It was very terrifying. The Lord of Senluo Ghost Territory raised his eyes and looked in the direction of Tianyuan realm, with a mocking smile on his lips. It seems that letting you go is a bit unnecessary. He left a backup on Lu Qinzi and others, but after many days of surveillance, it has been seen that these three people are not from the underworld. Instead, they are on the hostile side of the underworld. But okay, what's interesting is that after letting the three people go, these three people gave him a little surprise. First of all, he learned from the three people that there is a quasi-immortal emperor in the world, named Tianji Luzhu. Seems to be proficient in deduction, and also listed the 100 most powerful immortal kings. Even he can't find fault with this list. But the premise is that some people still have to sit down. If after death, everything is empty talk. A blessing in disguise is a blessing in disguise. The Lord of Senluo Ghost Territory murmured softly, and he said, Prince Ying. I met the domain lord below. A ball of flames bloomed in the void, and a majestic figure strode out. He stood in the hall, bowed and said, Go to the west of the demon realm and investigate carefully. If you see anyone suspicious, remember to hide yourself and don't let them find out. King Ying was puzzled and asked, Lord, have you discovered something? We have indeed discovered some interesting things. Go and do it. Remember, especially the people of the Lu family. These people may bring us some surprises. The Lord of Senluo Ghost Territory said calmly. Yes. I'll do it now. King Ying bowed again, turned around and left the hall, flying towards the bottom of Senluo Ghost. The mantis stalks the cicada while the oriole follows, which is interesting. The master of the Senluo Ghost Territory said with a chuckle. The Lu clan thinks they are sure of victory, but they don't know that every move they make is under his surveillance. At this moment, they are not taking action against Lu Qinghong and others. The main reason is that they are afraid of arousing the enemy. He can do it now. He killed Lu Qinghong and the second ancestor of the Lu clan in order to avenge the release of the three Lu clan kings. But he did not do so. What he wanted was for the three Lu clan kings to continue to help him find out some information from the Tianji building owner. What's more important is that these three people can also take him to see the mysterious master of Tianji. He is very curious about how capable the other quasi-immortal emperors in the world are. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 639. The Deserted City. The three kings of the Lu family arrived here soon. There are many strong people in the city. Lu Suanquan's eyes were solemn, and he scanned every building around him. He said in a deep voice, it has increased several times compared to the last time I came here. There is even a fairy king character among them. As he said that, he looked towards an attic. It was a 9-story attic, made entirely of white jade, surrounded by clouds and mist, like a fairyland. There were two figures sitting opposite each other. They were talking happily. The two people seemed to have noticed. Lu Xiancheng also looked over. After seeing the three queens of the Lu family clearly, the two of them were slightly startled, and then nodded. Lu Xiancheng also nodded in response. He had no intention of going up to say hello. After all, both parties just nodded. The relationship is not very close. Maybe. When the quasi-immortal emperor is born, the two sides will still be rivals. It's the Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient path, and he's actually here too. Lu Qinzi also saw the two people on the attic, and he said in a deep voice, "But, who is the person opposite him?" Opposite the Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road. There is a foreign creature, whose whole body is ice blue, as if it is condensed from 10,000 years of black ice. It emits a trace of cold air, which seems to be able to freeze the universe. He behaves calmly, with a certain the aura of this great avenue flows. Although he said hello to the three kings of the Lu family, his aloofness and indifference to the common people cannot be concealed no matter what. Xuanyan Immortal King. The seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. 82 on the Immortal King list. Lu Xiancheng and Lu Qinzi took a breath. The moment they looked at the attic, their eyes became much more solemn. During this period of time, they already knew that the people who can stand on the Immortal King list are not ordinary people, and any of them are extraordinary. He can crush them. After all, this person's ranking is higher than that of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. And a Lord of Tianmang Mountain can suppress them. It is conceivable that this Xuanyan Immortal King's how terrifying is the strength. How come the Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient path is related to the creatures of the feather realm? Lu Qinzi said in confusion. The two of them didn't know Xuanyan Immortal King at first, but they had heard each other's name. The key is that the other party also came from the same big world. The Yuja. Although the Yuja is not as good as the immortal world, it is similar to the immortal world. The world of gods is similar. There are not a few immortal kings among them, and there are even extremely powerful people like Xuanyan Immortal King. Even the Lu clan does not dare to underestimate them. The immortal wind ancient road was moved from the immortal realm to the god realm. Logically speaking, it should have no connection with the creatures in the feather realm, but nothing is absolute. Lu Xiancheng said softly. Maybe a long time ago, there was some connection between the immortal wind ancient road and the Yu world. Not to mention that the opportunity is ahead for the quasi-immortal emperor, and all the immortal kings will be tempted. At this time, multiple friends are better than one more enemy. Even the immortal king on the immortal king list does not dare to say that he is truly invincible. No one understands the principle that an elephant will be killed by ants. If a group of immortal kings who are not on the list join forces to besiege, as long as not in the top 10, almost dare not say that he can win the battle. Maybe. Whether he can escape is a question. Senior TNG host, the Immortal King list just released seems to have made many people unable to sit still. The seventh ancestor said thoughtfully. This can be clearly seen from the Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road. The characters on the Immortal King list are not necessarily invincible, but if you can make good friends with them, they may be in the future a great help. After all, the master of TNG Hall has acknowledged his strength. How could an ordinary Immortal King choose to turn a blind eye to the Immortal King list? This is why the Lu family has Lu Qinghong, so they don't need to deliberately make friends with other people. Immortal King, if there is no Lu Qinghong, maybe. The Lu clan will also have to find a top-ranked Immortal King to hug his thigh. People from the Lu family also came. In the attic, the Taoist master of the ancient fairy way, Zhao Junhan, looked leisurely, and his every move was calm and gentle. He picked up the teacup and took a sip gently, saying there may be a good show to watch later. Are you talking about the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu? Xuanyan Immortal King was non-committal and spoke calmly. If I read it correctly just now, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu have already entered the Tianji Tower, and I think they will get a lot of important information. Zhao Junhan's eyes were deep, with a dim light. When he mentioned Tianji Tower, he seemed to think of something, and he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Compared with Suanji sect, the owner of Tianji Tower is really much better, and he never makes any detours in anything. I told myself directly, even. A blank jade slip appeared in his hand. Played around with it casually. Soon, it is estimated that all the news he wants will appear in this jade slip, if it can help him get what he wants. Then all the effort is worth it. So what if you don't set foot on the Immortal King list? As long as he becomes the quasi-immortal emperor, his ranking on the Immortal King list is nothing to him and he doesn't need to take it to heart at all. Oh! Swanyan Immortal King's expression changed, and a trace of cold energy escaped from his body. The surrounding void was completely frozen, and cracks appeared, which was very terrifying. I just don't know what news they will ask for. If you want to know, it's actually very simple. Together with my friend Swanyan, and with the help of the three kings of the Lu family, I think the Lord of Tianmang Mountain will inevitably fall. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road talked eloquently and said with a chuckle, moreover, the people in the underworld are enemies of the heavens and the world. We are getting rid of them now. It can be regarded as a blessing to all living beings in the world. The Lord of Mang Mountain had participated in a battle in the underworld that day, and his strength should not be underestimated. Even I could not defeat him in a short period of time. Swanyan Immortal King gently shook his head. My friend Swanyan ranked 82nd on the list of Immortal Kings, while the Lord of Mang Mountain that day was only the 94th. The Taoist master of the Xianfeng ancient road opened his mouth to persuade. Today I saw the Lord of Tianmang Mountain, which is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he can be suppressed, he may be able to learn a lot of information, and at least get part of the inheritance of the underworld. Although the underworld has a bad reputation, and everyone wants to kill it. However, the power of the underworld is unquestionable. As long as you are a cultivator, everyone will covet the underworld. Have you forgotten the news we got in Tianji Tower? Swanyan Immortal King raised his head, and his ice blue eyes shot out a divine light, evolving various strange phenomena that made people shudder. He said in a deep voice, "The underworld is not as weak as we think. If it were before, they must have thought that the underworld had been wiped out long ago. But if they still think so after going to the Tianji Tower just now, then they are simply being kicked in the head, because the owner of the Tianji Tower told them personally. The list of immortal kings is only ranked in the current world. Strong man. What does this mean? Whether it is the old city lord of Hanging City, Lu Wudao, or the mysterious Joe Beggar, these people are all alive and well. Maybe the top 3 on the list of immortal kings are no longer quasi-immortal emperors, but better than quasi-immortal emperors. After all, Lu Wudao, who ranks second, was able to compete with the quasi-immortal emperor countless years ago. After countless years, with his talent, he will definitely not stand still. Even if there is no breakthrough, he is definitely superior to countless immortal kings. The thought of this. Even Zhao Junhan, the Taoist master of the ancient immortal wind path, could not help but hesitate. It is very simple to deal with the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. At the moment, as long as he joins forces with Swanyan Immortal King, and the 3 kings of the Lu family come to his aid, the mere Lord of Tianmang Mountain will be unable to fly. Even if there is one more Lu Qingyu, it will not help. But they couldn't guarantee whether Lu Wudao, who was on the Immortal King list, would be lured out. No matter what, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu are both from the underworld. Even if there is no Lu Wudao, there is still the demon realm, and there are still many strong people in it. Maybe the Lu family wouldn't let them go so easily. The Taoist master of the immortal wind ancient road lowered his gaze and looked at the 3 immortal kings below. If he remembered correctly, these 3 people had fought against the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and others not long ago. See you today. The two sides will meet, won't we? Live in peace and harmony. In front of Tianji building. The three kings of the Lu family came here again. I couldn't help but feel a little sad. Although it hasn't been that long since I came here last time. But in the demon realm, after meeting a quasi-immortal emperor, they are still scared to this day. Qinzi and others met with Senior Tianji Lozhu. Remember to thank him for his help. Without the guidance of Senior Tianji Lozhu, I'm afraid you. The seventh ancestor opened his mouth and gave instructions. But it's not over yet. He could say no more. Because in the Tianji building, two figures walked out together. If it's someone else, that's it. But these two people, even if they turn into ashes, the seventh ancestor will never forget them. Seal the coupon. The seventh ancestor spoke solemnly, his voice was infinitely cold. If this was not the Tianji Tower, he would have been unable to hold back and took action immediately. Even if the opponent was a strong man on the Immortal King list, he was not afraid at all. 3 against 2. The chance of winning is not impossible. More importantly, Lu Qinzi is no longer what he used to be. Although he has not set foot on the Immortal King list, he is probably not far behind. Are you here too? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain stopped and looked calm. He chuckled lightly, cupped his hands and said, I didn't expect that. We haven't seen each other for a few days, but you still have the same style. Even though. Said. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain cast his gaze on Lu Qinzi next to him, and said lightly, even his injuries have already recovered. I think it cost a lot of money. Feng Sheng, you don't have to be too proud. You and I, the traitors of the Lu clan, combined, can't escape the fate of falling. The seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. It seems you are very confident. Is it because of Lu Qinghong? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu looked at each other and chuckled at the same time. If they had not entered Tianji building, maybe they were a little afraid of Lu Qinghong, but now they are not afraid at all. Lu Qinghong is strong, but he is strong. After all, he is ranked outside the 50 on the list of immortal kings. Compared with the top 10 figures, he is not even a little bit behind. And behind him, the majestic Lord of Tianmang Mountain, is the underworld. Among all the heavens and worlds, except for besides the owner of Tianji, who else can touch him? The seventh ancestor frowned. These two people gave him the feeling that something was wrong. They seemed to be too confident. Did the other party's confidence come from the ranking of the immortal king? The key is, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain is only ranked 94th. This ranking is not high. Compared with the powerful immortal king in front, it is not even a little bit behind. You guys got a lot of news in Tianji Tower. The seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. If not. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain chuckled. He took a step forward and stood in front of the seventh ancestor. He looked down from above and said, do you think no one will know about the little tricks you do outside the demon realm? As soon as these words came out, it was like a thunderbolt exploding from the blue sky, causing the seventh patriarch to freeze on the spot. He looked at the Tianji Tower, and then at the Lord of Tianmang Mountain in front of him. In his pupils, a murderous intention bloomed quietly. But quickly restrained himself. This is Dawang City. You can't do anything under any circumstances. Even the immortal king is no exception. He. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain sneered and said lightly, in all the worlds, it is not as simple as you Lu family thinks. How can it be so easy to plot everyone? But having said that, this time, if the quasi-immortal emperor can be born as soon as possible, it will be thanks to the help of your Lu family. Without you, many powerful people would probably still be kept in the dark. Feng Sheng, you seem to be happy too early. At this time, Lu Xiancheng walked up. He first glanced at Lu Qingyu, a trace of anger flashed in his eyes, then looked at the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and said lightly. Even if you know the plan of our Lu family, so what? Don't forget, you have already stepped out of Tianji Tower, and we are about to enter Tianji Tower. Hearing these words, the smile on the face of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain suddenly stiffened, and his expression gradually became ugly. And Lu Xiancheng smiled and said warmly, you have been sealed for so long, and you have a traitor from our Lu clan. How many resources can you have on you? But behind us is the Lu family. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 640. The face of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain suddenly changed, and he looked a little ugly. Lu Xiancheng was right. The combined resources of himself and Lu Qingyu were not enough to compete with the Lu family. Even if Lu Zhenjun defected, there was no right at all. The Lu family has had too great an impact. Then we'll see. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain is still calm. This time, in the Tianji Tower, he got a lot of news. At least, he knows that the characters on the Immortal King list are all, maybe. A little bit is enough to prove that all the gods are the combined world may not be the opponent of the underworld. The only thing that worries them is that the underworld has been destroyed. The Lord of the underworld may also be gone. Today's underworld is leaderless. Who else can rule the underworld at this time? No one. For a person in power, no matter how strong the underworld is, they will probably be defeated one by one. Snort. The seventh ancestor and others didn't say anything more, and walked towards the Tianji building. When Lu Qinzi passed by Lu Qingyu, he looked at Lu Qingyu with his eyes, and a murderous intent flashed deep in his eyes. Passed away. But in the end, he just snorted and said nothing. For the Lu family, such a traitor appeared, making every member of the Lu family feel shameless. Until now. In the world of gods or immortals, there are quite a few criticisms of the Lu family. Many people even think that the Lu family has already taken refuge in the underworld. Inside the Tianji building. As soon as the three of them came in, they all raised their hands and saluted. This junior has met the owner of Tianji. Li Yun stood in front of a window with an interesting smile on his lips, as if he had seen something funny. He nodded casually and turned around. His gentle eyes swept over the three of them. Passed and said lightly. Sit down. After escaping from the demon realm all the way back, I probably haven't had peace of mind for a day. Now that you're here, you can rest assured. I am able to come back safely this time, thank you to Senior Tianji Poster. The seventh patriarch said sincerely with his hands in hand. Don't rush to thank me. Before that, there are still some things that need to be dealt with. Li Yunfan said lightly. The seventh patriarch and the other three had just sat down. After hearing these words, they couldn't help but stand up again. With a suspicious look on their faces, the seventh patriarch said. I wonder what the seniors are talking about. Is there a place where juniors need to wait for someone? If you need help from the juniors, the three juniors will definitely do their best. Need not. Li Yun waved his hand, came to Lu Xiancheng, raised a hand, and patted Lu Suanquan's shoulder under the puzzled eyes of the three people. Buzz. A ball of brilliance bloomed, and Li Yun seemed to be holding a small sun in his hand. The light was dazzling, surpassing the aura above the quasi-immortal emperor, and suddenly bloomed. This aura was extremely terrifying, as vast as a sea of smoke, boundless, and as if an ancient heavenly emperor was resurrected and stood above the sky, looking down at all living beings. And in Li Yun's palm, a piercing wail came from. Ah! The heartbreaking sound almost shocked the entire Tianji Tower. Fortunately, the moment the sound came out, Li Yun raised his hand to silence it. did not spread to the outside world. This voice, it's him. The seventh patriarch seemed to have thought of something, and his face instantly turned pale. Even Lucan Z next to him looked a little ugly. Because this voice was so familiar to them. Isn't it the Lord of the Senluo ghost territory from the demon realm? I never expected that the other party would leave a backhand on myself and others, but they themselves were not aware of it, and even brought it to the Tianji Tower. Thinking about it this way, doesn't it mean that the three of them, all the conversations that people had along the way, were not heard at all by the Senluo ghost territory lord? What about the arrangement of the Lu family? Especially Lu Qinghong and Erzu. To know. These two people are still near the heavenly demon realm. If the Senluo ghost realm has any intentions, how can these two people escape? Regardless of the fact that Lu Qinghong is the 54th immortal king. But against a quasi-immortal emperor, there is no chance of winning. Bang! Li Yun retracted his palm and closed his 5 fingers. The black mist in the middle instantly disappeared into ashes. Thank you, senior, for taking action today. If the seniors had not taken action, it would be difficult for the juniors and others to imagine how serious the consequences would be. Lu Xiancheng said quickly. Just a little effort. Li Yun chuckled, turned back to the chair, leaned over and sat down, and said slowly, speaking of which, Tianji Tower is not a place where anyone can peep. Li Yun's words were faint. He looked at the heavenly demon realm with a thoughtful look deep in his eyes. Almost at the same time. In the heavenly demon realm. In the grand hall, the Lord of Senluo ghost territory suddenly opened his eyes, and in his eyes with an extremely shocked expression, he said in a deep voice. Quasi-immortal emperor. He is also a quasi-immortal emperor who is infinitely close to the immortal emperor. Where does this person come from, and why have I never seen him before? After the Underworld War, no quasi-immortal emperor appeared again. He knew almost all the quasi-immortal emperors before the Underworld War, but the image of each person in his mind was not comparable to that of the Tianji building master. Even if the auras of the techniques are completely different. This is extremely weird. You can't say it. A quasi-immortal emperor appeared out of thin air, right? When he broke through, wasn't there a catastrophe? The catastrophe of a quasi-immortal emperor can be extraordinary and powerful as the god realm. I dare not let a quasi-immortal emperor go through the tribulation in the world, otherwise the whole world may be severely damaged. And such a powerful tribulation, it is absolutely impossible to go silent, even if they are extremely far apart, and every cultivator can feel something in their heart. Eccentric. The master of Senluo ghost territory whispered to himself. Such a quasi-immortal emperor suddenly appeared, disrupting all his previous arrangements. It would be better if this quasi-immortal emperor didn't interfere. It would be better if he personally participated in it. What happens next is hard to predict. A quasi-immortal emperor is enough to disrupt the entire world. I hope you won't stand opposite me. Senluo ghost territory lord said softly. Inside the Tianji building. At this moment, the 3 seventh patriarchs were all sitting in a moodless mood. Each of them had a frown on their face, and Lu Qinzi was pacing back and forth. If Lu Qinghong and the second ancestor were gone, he really couldn't imagine how far the Lu family would decline in the future. Seniors, Qinghong and second ancestor, they are near the demon realm, they won't encounter any danger, right? The seventh ancestor asked. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Xiancheng quickly stepped forward and presented an immortal king-level item. It was related to the Optimus pillar of the Lu family. Even if they were heartbroken, they couldn't have any regrets. Vague. Rest assured. After putting the things away, Li Yun took a deep look at the 3 people and said slowly, they will be fine in a short time. As for the Lord of the Senluo ghost territory that you are worried about, he has a bigger plan. Once he takes action, I am afraid that his identity will not be hidden. That's good. The seventh ancestor and the other three breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Lu Qinghong and the two of them don't meet the Senluo Ghost Territory Lord, everything will be fine. As for meeting other people, this probability is really too low. He is not one of the top 10 immortal kings. With Lu Qinghong and the second ancestor joining forces, even if they cannot defeat him, it should not be difficult to escape calmly. The three of them sat down again. Lu Xiancheng pondered for a while and asked curiously. The senior just said that the master of the Senluo Ghost Territory does not want to reveal his identity. Is there anything special about his identity? As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Qi Anzu and Lu Qinzi also changed. All three of them heard Li Yun's words just now, but they just didn't have time to speak. Ah! Grog! Li Yun chuckled and said jokingly, the identity of the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory is extraordinary. You should know that some people have even seen his true face. It's just that you didn't think about it that way. If you want me to tell you clearly, the price is not expensive, it is a quasi-immortal emperor level thing. What? The seventh patriarch and the other three were dumbfounded. Is this robbery? The Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory is also a quasi-immortal emperor, and he and others do not want his life, but just want his identity. How come it is so expensive? Even if he is the reincarnation of the Lord of the Underworld, he probably can only afford this price, right? But the Lord of Senluo Ghost Territory is obviously not the reincarnation of the Lord of the Underworld. Could the seniors be joking with the juniors and others? Lu Qinzi said nonchalantly. In Tianji Tower, there is no joke. Li Yun said in a deep voice. As soon as these words came out, the three of them were shocked. Although they didn't know who the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory was, they could also see from the side that the origin of the other party was not simple. Once it is revealed, I am afraid that all the world will be shaken by it. Senior, was the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory ever a person on the list of immortal kings? Lu Xiancheng asked tentatively. Logically speaking, the master of the Senluo Ghost Territory is a quasi-immortal emperor, and the list of immortal kings is all immortal kings. There is no connection between the two. But there is no absolute in everything. One immortal king is half an immortal king. He has stepped into the realm of the quasi-immortal emperor. When he makes a move, the aura of the quasi-immortal emperor will indeed permeate the air. It is understandable that the three of them misunderstood. After all, the second Lu Wuodao, hundreds of millions of years ago, he can already compete with the quasi-immortal emperor. Countless years later, it is not surprising that his strength is comparable to that of the quasi-immortal emperor. Of course. The premise is that he must be alive. After asking this time, Lu Xiancheng just wants to know if it is possible. The first or second person on the list of immortal kings is still alive, just with a different name. No. Li Yun shook his head. Is not it? The faces of the three people were solemn. One of them is not a figure on the list of immortal kings, but he is still a quasi-immortal emperor, and he is also on the side of the underworld. These key factors are superimposed together. It has to be said that this is a very important factor for the world. Unfavorable news. What's more important is that just now, the senior master of Tianji building also revealed a vague news, that is, the master of Senluo Ghost Territory has his own plan, and what exactly he is doing is unknown. Senior, can you tell me a little bit about what the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory is doing? The seventh ancestor asked curiously. This question is more important than the previous question. It involves many things. Once you know it, it will be harmful to you but not beneficial. Li Yun's rare voice became more solemn. If this is really the case, then the juniors must understand more. The seventh ancestor said solemnly. For other things, he could suppress his curiosity for the time being. But it is different when it concerns the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory. This person is a figure in the underworld, and what he is planning must be against everyone. It's unfavorable in the world. If you know something in advance, you might be able to mess up the other party's plan. But you can't afford this price. Li Yun shook his head slightly and continued, even if the entire Lu family and all their wealth were used, they probably wouldn't be able to pay the price. More valuable than the opportunity of a quasi-immortal emperor. The seventh ancestor was surprised. There is an inextricable relationship between the two, which may be regarded as a problem. Li Yun said ambiguously. Oh. Hearing this, the seventh patriarch understood something in his heart. If he guessed correctly, the quasi-immortal emperor's fate was related to the layout of the master of the Senluo Ghost territory, but it was accidentally hit by the master of Tianmang Mountain and others. The collisions were mixed together. After all, in the past, the Lord of Senluo Ghost territory had never shown up, and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and others only wanted to become quasi-immortal emperors. Who would have thought that now the two things would collide? I guess. At this time, the Lord of Senluo Ghost territory was also annoyed, but it didn't help at all. The news of the opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor has spread throughout the world. With the world of the demon realm, it is impossible to spread this news, suppress it. It's not good. In the world of demons where he is, there are also people who have some undue thoughts about the opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor. Seniors and juniors have an idea, but I don't know if it will work. Lu Xiancheng asked tentatively. Explain. Li Yun faintly spit out one word. The senior just said that whether it is the chance of the quasi-immortal emperor or the plan of the Lord of the Senluo Ghost territory, it is no small matter. In this case, Lu Xiancheng rubbed his hands and said tentatively, juniors and others do not need to know the specific plans of the Lord of the Senluo Ghost territory, as long as they know his ultimate purpose. In this case, how many resources are needed in exchange? Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 641. Oh. Li Yun raised his eyebrows, not surprised at all. Obviously, he had known Lu Suanquan's plan for a long time. He said slowly, there are some things, knowing it is more helpless than not knowing it. This junior naturally knows this. Lu Xiancheng nodded and said. For most things in the world, once the ultimate goal is known, it means that the entire plan will be in vain. But there are still some things. Even if you tell them everyone, the final result will still not change at all. And this situation is the most powerless. You can only watch everything happen, but you can't do anything. The juniors and others, even if they die, do not want to perish without knowing it. At this time, Lu Qinzi also spoke in agreement. Just now, the owner of Tianji Hall reminded him that he had already prepared for the worst. The master of Senluo Ghost territory's plan is very likely not to be an immortal king who can turn things around. Yes. But even if you and others can't change anything. But you have to do something, you can't just sit back and wait for death. 3 immortal king level items. Li Yun raised 3 fingers and said calmly. He had already said what he should say, but the other party still wanted to ask, so there was no need for him to hide it. After all, he also lacked resources, and there were dozens of immortal kings coming. There all the resources have been sent up. It is estimated that he will have enough information to break through the realm. When he becomes the immortal emperor, even if the world is overturned, it will not affect him at all. Easy to say. Lu Xiancheng and the seventh patriarch looked at each other. Without any hesitation, they quickly took out 2 exercises and an elixir and placed them in front of Li Yun. Li Yun glanced at the 3 items and put them away with a wave of his hand. Under the expectant gazes of the 3 people, he slowly spoke. In fact, you should have some speculations about the master of the Senluo Ghost territory, but you just haven't been willing to believe it and want to get a definite answer from me. Li Yun's words made the three of them feel a thump in their hearts. The Lord of Senluo Ghost territory is already a quasi-immortal emperor. His plans must be quite big, but there are really not many things worthy of the other party's planning. After all, if he wants to deal with someone, he can just do it directly, without any need for planning. But he is doing some shameful things behind the scenes, so the significance of this matter is extraordinary. At the very least, it must be related to the immortal emperor. If the Lord of the Senluo Ghost territory is not trying to break through the immortal emperor, he is trying to resurrect a figure who is already an immortal emperor. And there is only one person who is worthy of doing this. That is the past in the year, the master of the underworld. The immortal emperor is difficult to kill. Even if he dies, he may have left some backup, and the Lord of the Senluo Ghost territory may be using this to make some arrangements. He wants to let the underworld lord reign over all realms again. Of course. Before Master Tianji spoke, these things were just their thoughts. Whether they were true or not, no one dared to be sure. But just now, Master Tianji's words made the three of them feel, mentioned them all. Just as you guessed. With a faint smile on Li Yun's lips, Feng Qingyun said calmly he is preparing to let the master of the underworld return again from the long river of time. What, even though there were speculations in their hearts, the three kings of the Lu family were still shocked when they heard the affirmative answer. This news is so shocking. Once it spreads, it will be like a hurricane, sweeping across the world, as long as it is not from the underworld. Creatures. No one wants to be manipulated by others after their death. Since they don't want to be manipulated by others, they must not let the underworld reappear. But the master of the Senluo Ghost territory is actually planning such a thing in secret. How can you turn a blind eye? If the Lord of the underworld returns again, won't all living beings in the heavens and worlds have to enter that kind of darkness again? The seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. Estimate, we, the victors of the past, will also be liquidated. Lu Xiancheng said softly. No matter what, we can't let Senluo Ghost territory master's plan succeed. It's just that we only know one purpose and don't even know what the other party's plan is. How can we stop the other party? More importantly, we don't even know that the powerful quasi-immortal emperors who defeated the underworld in the past are currently there. Only a few of us immortal kings can rashly confront the master of the Senluo Ghost territory. I am afraid, bad luck. After some discussion among the three kings of the Lu family. Inside the Tianji building, it fell into dead silence again. Everyone looked ugly, but Li Yun still looked relaxed, as if the return of the Lord of the Underworld was just a small matter to him. In fact, that's exactly what it is. Even if the immortal emperor, the master of the underworld, comes back, he can't hurt him at all. If he can't be beaten, he can still hide. If he can trick the other party into the Tianji Tower. At that time, even if the other party is the immortal emperor, if he wants to flatten or round him, it still depends on his own will? Senior. Lu Xiancheng secretly glanced at Li Yun's face and said tentatively, since the senior already knows the purpose of the Lord of the Senluo Ghost territory, he probably also knows the specific details of the other party's plan, and even, still know what the final result will be. I wonder, Senior, are you willing to take action to save all living beings in the world from water and fire? Li Yun smiled. He shook his head slightly and said lightly, I'm afraid this disappoints you. I have no intention of intervening in anything. As long as the people in the underworld don't take the initiative to provoke Tianji Tower, he will happily sit on the sidelines and maybe be a middleman to make more money. After all, the immortal emperor realm may not be the top. Maybe there are other realms above. Even if your strength is enough in the future, what's the use of killing the Lord of the Underworld all at once? Without pressure, there will be no motivation. Who will come to Tianji Tower and spend a lot of money? Tianji Tower has always remained neutral and will not help any party. If you want to survive the disaster safely, you need to look at your own methods. Li Yun continued with a smile on his face. I still say the same thing. In my eyes, there is no difference between you and the people in the underworld. The underworld rules the heavens and advocates reincarnation. If all creatures of the underworld abide by the rules of the underworld, it is impossible for all the heavens and worlds to become a ghost. The major transcendent forces now rule the heavens and all the worlds. On the surface, look, everywhere is prosperous, but in fact, it is not much different from the underworld. Even. Maybe there is no dominant family in Jifu yet, and it is better to come here. After all, there are many fairy kings who have no restraints and refine a world at will, and there are even many demons who refine a magic weapon. Sacrifice countless lives. This. Lu Xiancheng pursed his lips and was speechless for a moment. Senior, if a quasi-immortal emperor appears in all the worlds, can he stop the plan of the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory? Lu Qinzi spoke. He gave away an immortal king-level weapon. Cannot. Li Yun shook his head. In just 2 words, he exchanged for a valuable item. I'm afraid countless people will be jealous of this speed of making money. But at this moment, the 3 kings of the Lu family are no longer in the mood to pay attention to this. A little. But all the energy was concentrated on the word can't just now. Even a quasi-immortal emperor couldn't stop the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory. In this way, wouldn't it mean that the Lord of the Senluo Ghost Territory is his plan destined to succeed? As for whether the Master of the Underworld will be resurrected after success, it is hard to say. After all, there are only a few immortal emperors throughout the ages, but the God Emperor wiped them out. No matter what, maybe he was resurrected by a quasi-immortal emperor who told him to resurrect. If I were you, I would no longer worry about these things, but focus on how to improve your own strength. After all, the catastrophe is coming, and the more strength you have, the more possibility of survival. Li Yun said meaningfully. Thanks for the tip, Senior. Lu Xiancheng and Lu Qinzi reluctantly handed over their hands. It was not difficult for them to hear that this was Tianji's landlord hinting to them that even if they knew about some things, it would be impossible to know the details. Because they couldn't afford it? News. On the contrary, it improves strength and provides a little life protection. Before that, the junior still has a question. Lu Xiancheng said a little unwillingly. Do you want to ask about the Immortal King list? Li Yun chuckled lightly and said, this is just a list I made at random. As for the questions in your minds, only 5 immortality realm items are enough. Before the 3 kings of the Lu family, many people had already bought this news. During this period, the news that the Immortal King list was real, and the people on it were still alive, had been passed on, which also led to, the value of the news has been greatly reduced. It is estimated that it will be worthless in a short time. At this moment, being able to collect 5 immortal items from the 3 kings of the Lu family is probably the last bit of value of this news. 5 pieces, immortality items. Lu Xiancheng raised his eyebrows. In the Tianji building, he was already used to it. The owner of the Tianji building started with an immortal king level item, but suddenly dropped it to an immortal level item. He was still a little unaccustomed to it. It was too cheap. It made him feel quite flattered. Good. 5 immortality items. Li Yun nodded and said. Seniors, please speak clearly. Lu Xiancheng didn't hesitate at all. He quickly took out 5 immortality items, placed them in front of Li Yun, and then respectfully waited for the next step. It is true. Li Yun put away the things and said, everyone on the Immortal King list is still alive and well. Maybe you will be able to see them soon. Including Zhou Qi, Lu Wudao, and the old city lord of Hanging City. Lu Xiancheng said in disbelief. If it were other people, it would be okay, but if it were Lu Wuidao and the old city lord of Xiankong City, it would be too sensational that such people are still alive. But they have been confirmed to have all died. Why? Will they come back from the dead? If they are not dead, why can't they hide it after so long? You know, after the war in the underworld, all the heavens and worlds were seriously injured. After recovering from their injuries, these terrifying people, if they come back again, there probably won't be many people who can stop them. Good. Li Yun nodded. This, how can it be? At this time, even the seventh ancestor couldn't sit still. He had experienced that battle personally and deeply understood the strength of Lu Wuidao and others. If they were still alive, it would be simply too terrifying. Senior, when Lu Wuidao was chased by two quasi-immortal emperors, how did he survive? Is there any hidden secret in this? The seventh patriarch quickly asked. 2 immortal king-level items. Li Yun stretched out 2 fingers and waved them in front of the 3 people. The seventh patriarch was speechless. Senior Tianji host, everything is good there, but at this price, it's too harsh, and it's often an item above the immortal king level. This thing is not a roadside cabbage. Who can take it out without limit? Senior joked. The seventh patriarch pursed his lips and finally decided not to ask. It is enough to know that Lu Wuidao is still alive. As for how he survived, that is not something they can know. It has been so long. There is no need to. One thing has already happened, but to spend 2 immortal king-level items. If they were alive, they probably would not turn a blind eye to the opportunity of the quasi-immortal emperor who was about to be born. Maybe this chance birth would be a disaster. The seventh ancestor seemed to have predicted something, and his voice became extremely low. They had learned the news in advance and had made arrangements, but any arrangements were so pale and powerless in the face of absolute strength. A Senluo ghost demon, the territory lord, can easily crush all of them. But at the moment, they only know that in all the worlds, there is only one Master Tianji who is the quasi-immortal emperor. Unfortunately, Master Tianji is not on their side. Senior, since there is still a quasi-immortal emperor in the underworld, where is the quasi-immortal emperor who was once in the world now? Have they already left the fairy world, or have they all fallen? The seventh ancestor asked curiously. An immortal king-level item. Li Yun said with a smile. Hearing these words, the seventh patriarch's heart moved. It was related to the whereabouts of the quasi-immortal emperor. He had already made plans to be slaughtered. But what he never thought of was, the owner of Tianji just asked for an immortal king-level item. This price, I have to say, is too low.